freak out there.
You can't handle the truth. You can't handle the truth.
What do all men power want? More power.
My name is Gianluca Zanna. I was an Italian by birth, and I became an American by choice. Our lives and freedoms are in danger. This is not a dream. If you're listening to this broadcasting, you are the resistance.
All systems go.
Welcome to Love, Guns, and Freedom.
We're not afraid.
Hi everybody, this is Luca Zanna, and you're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom on KTOX 1340 AM and on United States.FM network. This is for me like living in a dream, seriously. As much as sometimes I wake up, I think I'm in a nightmare. I think about, for a guy like me, I grew up in Anzio. This is a little town outside Rome. Was born in Italy. And since I was a child, I wanted to become an American. Sometimes these dreams don't happen, okay? And then, of course, I came here, my late, pretty much, youth, when I was about 28, with a lot of dreams, a lot of fears, a lot of hopes, and, of course, excited. And at the same time, you start to realize that this is the country that you dreamt is dying. It's dying because, unfortunately, we let it die. And there is an enemy inside that has been planning this killing of this republic a long time ago. And, as a new American, I took an oath, to defend this country, its constitution. And the point is, it still broke my heart. I had a lot of moments that I say, oh my gosh, I wish I came here, maybe 50 years ago, when America was still the America that probably I idealized when I was in Italy. But you know what? Maybe that wasn't my plan. Maybe it was the plan of somebody else. Maybe we must be here now because we are pretty much called to defend this republic. And I'm just a regular guy, I'm what I have. I just have an accent. I'm here on the show. I just try to wake up my friends and my fellow people that I know. But at the same time, I realize that any one of us, as regular people, we can do so much. I'm using Facebook lately, of course, to promote the show, to find like-minded people, engage in debates. But what I like really about that is give me hope that there are still a lot of people out there, individuals, that without any type of, big microphone or television show or anything, just with a little webcam, they put themselves on this webcam and they start to inspire thousands and thousands of other people. And this type of people give me hope. So I'm here, sometimes I struggle, sometimes I really feel like, oh my gosh, we're going to make it. Regardless, we're going to fight. Regardless, we're not going to give up. Regardless, one day we will be judged. Whatever happens here, I don't know. But I know that we will not give up. And there is a man that he gave me a lot of inspiration. Him and his stepson. It's funny that the stepson was on my list like the last 2 years. This is the guy that I talked several times about, refusing in his school district, in his school, to remove this NRA t-shirt. And he stood his ground. And I say, this guy gives me hope. This young man is the type of man we need for the next generation. But you know what? Then you realize that young men like this don't happen by accident. There is a family behind, a mother or a father who share these values. That's why it's so important, the family, because we need to try to preserve the next generation educating. Now, let's go to the point. My guest today, it's a man that inspires me a lot. First of all, he's a veteran, and I believe now more than ever, we need veterans who want and they will uphold their oath to defend this republic against all enemies, foreign and domestics. We're not going to win this battle, even if it's just a battle of ideas with just us. We need everybody. We need peace officers, we need veterans, we need every Americans. I don't care what type of person you are. If you believe in freedom, the Bill of Rights, and this Constitution, you're a brother and sister of mine. Now, his name is Allen Lardieri. Allen, are you there?
Yes, sir, I am, and I appreciate you having me on here, and of course it does take a real Italian to pronounce another Italian's name, and I thank you for that.
Okay, tell me how you pronounce that, or at least how the Americans pronounce that, people that were born in Italy. Go ahead, please. How do they say it?
There are several very interesting variants, especially, when I was serving. It's pretty neat the way people would say it. They'd say Lardieri, Lardieri, there's all kinds of different spins on it, but yeah, I like the way it sounds coming from, more native tongue. Sounds pretty good.
Perfect, perfect. You know, I'm always fascinated, you know, not only as in America, but I also like to know, because, for example, myself, I'm the first generation. I came here like, you know, probably, I don't know if it was your father or your grandfather. I'm the first people came here and, you know, starting this new life in this new country. Who was the first people who came to America from the whole continent on your side, on your family? Your father or grandfather?
This was a great-great-grandfather. His name was Allen Lardieri.
Wow.
He came from a region that was around the Adriatic Sea, and he came here just around the turn of the last century.
Wow. So it's like you've been here for a while. It's not like just the first generation or second generation. You've been here for a while. Interesting.
Oh, yes, sir.
Did you ever find any photos or memorabilia or some sort of passport or things like that that are always so fascinated about these stories? Do you have anything left of his life?
Unfortunately, no, sir. Nothing that just beyond something that's a digital file or something that I've pulled up. I mean, I got the name of the boat that the family came over on. Of course, some names and some lineage back to Italy itself. But that's about the extent of it.
Interesting. I'm just now we'll go to the interview. People say, "What are you talking about? This Italian love affair?" Yes, I'm very excited about this stuff. Do you know the name of the town of the? I know you say Adriatic Sea. What part? You know the region? Maybe it was Marche, Abruzzo. Which part of Italy was your great grandfather came from?
Offhand, I do not know, sir. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I don't know. I think the latter one you said there actually rang quite a bit of a bell, but out of fear of being inaccurate, I'd hate to say it's an absolute certainty, but that did kind of ring a bell slightly. Okay,
anyway, I'm just curious because I have a part of my family, they were from Marche. That is exactly on the Adriatic Sea. Anyway, back to us. You know, this is always exciting. And the point is, guys, this is the show, you know. We are here as Americans, and we have all different backgrounds, you know. I don't care how you pronounce your last name. Could be, British, could be Irish, could be German, could be Italian, Japanese. Who cares? We are Americans. We stick together now. We stand together. And we want to, even if we don't agree on everything, the point that we are in danger. Allen, you realize that. You did some great videos, by the way, YouTube's. I really like the way you present yourself in a simple but straight, direct way. And you try to warn other fellow Americans to start to do something. And give us a little bit, first of all, about your background. You're a regular guy, but not that regular. I mean, you have an interesting background, even in the military. Who are you?
Well, basically, I am. I'm like America as a whole. I'm a big mutt. I'm a mixture of a lot of different things. I was born actually in Cleveland, Ohio. I lived in between there and West Virginia, and which you can tell by the way I talk, which is really odd. And here in West Virginia, I sound like I'm from the north, and here up in the north there, I sound like I'm from West Virginia. So I really don't fit in anywhere. I'm a big old mixture. I'm half Italian, half Irish. I grew up mostly here in southern West Virginia, where we are very rural people. Everybody pretty much knows everybody else. Coal mining. I am a coal miner. I'm actually fighting the government right now on some of the horrible things they're trying to do to actually literally kill us as far as the regulations they do. But before that, I was in the United States Army. I was in the Army National Guard. I served overseas in Bosnia at post-Bosnian Civil War. I was there 2 weeks before Kosovo actually kicked off, so it was very interesting to be on the ground before an actual conflict began and be in place. Got to see a lot of that. I got out in 2001 just before the World Trade Center bombings in the Pentagon and in Pennsylvania, and unfortunately I tried to go back several times. And, I hear a lot of people say, they send me messages, and I just want to let them know, they said they really wanted to serve. And even though I done served and this happened, I know exactly how they feel and how helpless you feel, and that you almost feel in the sense worthless that you can't go out and you can't fight. But I found a new fight, and that's here at home, unfortunately. And what the people, like I said in the video a year or so ago, I never would have made a video like that because I never felt it necessary to make a video like that. The times have unfortunately and have certainly changed. And anybody who feels that they wanted to serve, I tell them that, unfortunately, I think you will have to serve, and it'll be the most important and stressful conflict that this country's ever seen since it went for its own independence. And that's where we're at right now.
Yes, And can I say something? You say the most important really thing, I have a lot of friends out there that they feel the urgency to do something. And, I'm just a regular guy, but I went through this. I'll tell you something. Maybe you don't know about me. I grew up in Anzio. I was born in Rome, and World War II was a pretty big deal. Anzio's a little town because it was part of the landing. Part of my family was pretty much spread out, hiding in the mountains. Pretty much they had days counted. Nazi occupation was pretty rough, and my grandfather was on the list. Was one of the guys that's supposed to be killed. So for me, the American landing was just another war. It was pretty much the idea that if today I'm here, I can speak and talk, and my mother was born, and my family grew up, because many other people died on the beach of Anzio. So I really came to America with an idea. I wanted to give something back to this country. And, of course, I didn't know yet many things. When I was 1999, I remember still in Cahuenga Street in Hollywood, there was this recruiting office, and I was 28. I was already pretty, I don't say old, but not young enough to really join every branches that I wanted to. So I started with the Marines. No, you're too old. Then I went to the Army. Okay, come. Then by accident, I started to learn about Michael New, Private Michael New. I don't know if you're familiar with him. I had his father on the show a few months ago. The first soldier who refused to serve under the United Nations in Insignia, and unfortunately had a very hard time because, Clinton, the President Clinton, scumbag Clinton, he set an example that don't you try to question orders, even if they are against the Constitution, because, but the point is, I realized that my fight as a new American, as you're saying, supposed to be here. Because they sending the best men and women far away from our coast. They're sending them overseas. Meanwhile, these rapers, these brigands, these politicians, they're raping us. They're killing our rights. They're destroying this republic. They're stealing our purses. And that's why I really believe you said the most important things. We need Americans, men and women who wants to serve now here. If I had a son, I would say, if you really want to serve, join the local militia or start one. Number one. Number two, go to the city council. Go in front of the congressman office. Learn about politics because these people, they are killing us. What do you think about this? Is it too extreme what I'm saying? Or maybe, I don't know, people should go still to the recruiting office and submit themselves to the new global government, pretty much what they're serving now.
That's right.
So, go ahead.
You're absolutely correct. It's not that you are an extremist. It's not that you are saying extreme things. You are merely mirroring your environment, which is an impossibility of reason, an environment that is absolutely and overwhelmingly controlled. Everything you do now is being regulated. And I can tell you in my own industry that they're doing practices to us, the government is, it's literally diseasing and murdering our coal miners. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. So the thing is people always like to think in the fact that you're speaking some kind of treasonous acts. No, this is not about treason. This is about a reestablishment of proper constitutional government. It says clearly in the oath I took. Clearly, there's an order of precedence there. It says, I do solemnly swear, and I did say swear, I didn't say affirm. I do solemnly swear to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States. Now, all oaths have orders of precedence in them. It doesn't say what came after that. It said the President of the United States and the officers appointed above me, but what came first? The Constitution of the United States is precedence. Mm-hmm. And again, back on the subject of, and I'm about to release actually a video that I just did. I'm about to put it back out on Facebook here that answers a lot of questions. And maybe this answer, the same question I get over and over is what's next? What do we do next? And I can tell them very simply because I've just done this process. I have found an organization that I just joined. It's called the Oath Keepers. I'm sure you've heard of it.
Yes, I had several guests here that were the founder of the Oath Keepers. Go ahead, please.
Yes, and now you don't have to be a former military or a police officer or anybody that took a sworn oath. Anybody now can join. And what happens when you join is you get on there and you register on their online forum. You get with other like-minded individuals and you start forming your individual defensive groups. That is the next step. The next step people should do is seek out other like-minded individuals, train, and be vocal. I'm not saying for people to go out and start killing people. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying be prepared to defend yourself, but what you really need to do is be seen, be heard. Like you said, Everybody that sees or hears you and myself, they need to go out and make their own video. If everybody did that, this video that I put out, I mean, I'm kind of shocked at the views it has. The last time I checked, it was only up for a couple hours and had well over 200,000 views. But here's the thing. The thing is I want other people, like I said in the video, I don't want you to follow me. I want to follow you. So you pick up and you go. You make a video. You be seen. I'm not telling you to go out and kill nobody. That's ridiculous. I'm telling you to be ever vigilant. But the best thing people can do right now is be prepared and get out there and be seen.
Yes.
We're losing America. We're losing it every day. Can you see how the government is dividing us along racial lines, socioeconomical lines, and anything that they can do to divide us? Because you're being divided so you can be conquered. A divided force, militarily speaking, is much easier to conquer, much easier to command and control for the enemy when it's split up.
I agree completely. And this is the most important thing. You know, this didn't happen just here in America. It happened pretty much almost every country before went to full force dictatorship or full force fascism. I mean, first they start to intimidate you. And you know very well, I'm sure you're familiar with different pieces of legislations that now supposedly, even for me, they are unconstitutional. I disregard them, but they are the law of the land. And one of these is the National Defense Authorization Act, that pretty much for the first time in American history bring us back before pre-Magna Carta to 1215, when pretty much now the government, just because suspect any one of us to be a terrorist without due process. And you know, now the definition of terrorist is pretty much upside down. If you believe in the Constitution, if you're returning veterans, you're a potential domestic terrorist right there. And the bottom line is any one of us can go straight to the dungeon, not even jail, you know, and indefinitely detain, and pretty much they can throw the key at you. I mean, this is not even in China it's happening anymore. When people start to sink in this concept, this is no more the America that our founding fathers created. We are living now in a post-constitution, soft tyranny environment. And just because it didn't happen to you or me yet, doesn't mean that it didn't happen to somebody else or it's not happening. What do you think about this statement? I mean, the National Defense Authorization Act, I don't care which party people are. We should all be concerned. Don't you think so?
Yes, sir. And another thing, there always is an element of risk of stepping out. When you do make your videos and everything, just keep in mind, be civil. Don't threaten to hurt innocent people or anything. I can't stress that enough. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I stepped out there and I made my video, and I'm probably a target. I've had things happen to me since Jared's issue at school. I've been watched. I know I've been watched. Everything I do is absolutely legal. Yes, I have Class 3 items. Mm-hmm. Firearms-wise, but, I went through the process to the BAATF, so if they're listening, please don't waste your damn time and try. Everything I do is absolutely legal, so it doesn't matter. But please, if you notice that I'm not there no more, raise hell, because somebody has come and got me.
Yes.
There is that fear. There is always that element of risk, but you cannot let fear paralyze you. You cannot do it.
Exactly.
Me, I am nothing. If something happens to me, so be it. If it advances freedom, I don't care. That's either somebody killing me or imprisoning me. I don't care. They must understand that.
And I agree with you. I always say at the end of the day, we're all going to die, no matter what. The only thing we have is still a choice and freedom to choose if we want to die as cowards and pretty much, have regrets for eternity of our cowardice, or we're going to at least have a chance to stand up with some dignity as a free human beings and free Americans. This is the point. When people start to sink in that we are not forever, one day you're going to die no matter what, or you die of a disease, or you die because somebody, throw a rock at you, or whatever. The point is, what's the point? Stand up. And that's exactly why I want you on the show, to show if a regular guy, a working man like you, just with a little webcam, no, even in the studio. I like the way you do it in your car. It's so funny. It's so great, Just, simple. How much you pay for your camera? It's like, $50 maybe? You have a nice little dash cam, I guess, or whatever you have.
I'm so busy with work and raising a family that I have to budget my time. And I do all my videos from the car out of sheer necessity because it's the only place I can do it, in between work or without screaming kids in the background. I'm pretty shocked right now that there's not that going on while we're doing this interview. But,
I know.
I used to edit and make some nice videos. If people checked out my YouTube channel, which is a Black Rifle channel on YouTube, Allen Lardieri's Black Rifle channel, this used to be a great place. So I used to do some testing on military-grade firearms and that sort of thing, and some of those videos are still on there. But and I used to edit videos, but the kids ruined my computer, so yeah, you're going to get a very unpolished, unvarnished version of anything I put out video-wise until I get the money and get in a better financial position to get editing software and a computer. So people just have to bear with me.
No, Allen, this is great. Don't get me wrong. You know what I'm trying to say to everybody out there. There is no excuse. I mean, even if you're broke and poor or whatever, you're busy. It's not about the technology. It's about the message. It's about the courage to stand up. Because, at this point, this shows exactly my point. An average person can be very extraordinary things. The fact that you can inspire hundreds of thousands of people. I mean, just the video that I watch is thousands and thousands, 200,000 views, I can't believe it. And, many probably more views than CNN has at night, okay? And we can be contagion each other, inspiring each other. This is the purpose of my show. It is not just here to cry or to point out problems. No, it's just trying to find solutions, inspiring each other. And that's what we need. We need each other. So all I'm saying, great. You give me hope. You give me hope because, when I came to America, I had a lot of hope. And for a moment, my hopes, they were broken when I saw we've been taken over by these internationalist, New World Order traders. They're pretty much they're inside the government now, and they try to destroy the fiber of this republic. And then I see regular people like you that reminded me why I came here. Okay, we are not slaves. We will stand up like our founding fathers. And I like when I see like people like your stepson standing up in his school. Please remind a little bit the story about your stepson, because I think it's very inspiring. And every mother and father out there who has a son or a daughter in school, please listen up, because we're going to start to tell them to these public schools that we pay their salaries, overpriced salaries, to all these teachers and all these freaking wannabe tyrants called also principals. And they better start to remember the Constitution doesn't stop at their doors, and so the Bill of Rights. Please, Allen, tell us about the story of your son.
Well, essentially, we live in southern West Virginia, and to see an individual walk down the street with a AR-15, no one bats an eye, believe that or not. And you still there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm listening.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Got real quiet. This is an extremely dense gun culture here, okay? Mm-hmm. Our hills here in West Virginia, not only they're just massive geographical features, but for years and years and years, the world pretty has much bypassed us, and on a lot of different things, infrastructure-wise, we're a little bit behind on a lot of things because of our sheer geography, okay? But there's one thing that was good about that is our cultural retention here in the mountain state, and particularly in southern West Virginia. Mm-hmm. We have a high concentration of sportsmen here, a high concentration of sportsmen. Hunting is entwined with everything. So it's not uncommon to see kids wearing shirts that have the static display of a firearm on it. Well, we went and bought Jared a shirt, and it says, stand up for your rights or protect your rights, and had a picture of a hunting rifle on it. Mm-hmm. He went through school the whole day until this activist teacher had issue with his shirt. Now, mind you, he went through half of his classes that day. This guy stops him and is very verbally abusive and gets to the point of being physically abusive when my son refused to turn his shirt inside out. Wow. He knew the school policy now better than this so-called educator. Yeah, he is an educator. He's an indoctrinator. He knew he was in the right. Well, they physically removed him, and I mean physically removed him and took him to the office. And they called the police on him. Now, I'm not blaming, and I come in and fire this. I'm not blaming. I know these police officers personally. And they're good men. And they do things, that seem odd at the time. But this is a small town here, okay? And these guys had to do this. The school calling the police on any child for nonviolent offenses is wrong. It's always wrong. And this school system here has an open policy. They just call the police on kids all the time. That's a great image for kids, especially police, right now have such a negative perception in the public, and this doesn't help when kids see their friends haul away in the back of a squad car. But anyway, he was ultimately arrested from events stemming from the wearing of that T-shirt.
Wow.
And I raised hell. And it got on the news. Before I know it, I'm arguing with Pierce Morgan on live TV over this situation. I'm talking with a lot of good people. And you know, you was talking about, you know, getting faith by seeing people act. And I never had any idea that this video, already now with 250,000 views, more than 250,000 views, I had no idea that people, I almost lost faith. You know, that's mainly, that video was out of desperation because it was my last resort. Who do I go to? I went to the American people. And right now I'm holding my phone and it's constantly buzzing. I can't keep up with the friend request on Facebook. I'm honestly trying to talk to everybody I can and thank them and try to motivate them to do their own thing, to strike out on their own and get organized. And right now my phone's just buzzing. And you talk about getting faith back in humanity. I'm getting it. I'm feeling it. There is a large group of patriots out there. And it doesn't matter what race you are. This is going to be the one thing to unite us all, is this patriot movement, this reestablishment that we need to do. And I'm getting faith from that. I've got faith from all the support that we received when Jared had his problems at school. It was overwhelming. That damn courthouse was getting 3,000 angry phone calls a day. And there's only 4 people there to answer the phones. They were overwhelmed.
Wow. I ended up, but can you tell us how I ended up this whole story? I mean, the school, the lawsuit, what's going on?
Okay, what's going on? Well, after that, you know, of course, we went to court several times, and they threatened to throw him in jail, literally.
Wow.
And that made it worse. They threatened to put a gag order on me, an unconstitutional gag order on me.
My gosh.
You know, you will lose your rights. Like you just said earlier, there's ways that they'll try to do that. And they tried to do that to me because that's how I was winning. We had great legal support, and we eventually, we won.
Wow.
Now we do have a lawsuit with the Board of Education, which is now just going through the legal motions at this time. Mm-hmm. As far as the status of that, I'll have to get with the attorney to get anything recent. But, you know, the Newsom case, which is similar to ours, minus getting arrested in Virginia, you know, it took a while. It took a couple years. So, and I've talked with them people personally. But right now, you know, everything's just in the legal wrangling is going on at this point.
You know, and this is exactly my point, you know, I was saying before. There is the easy way and there is the tough way. And unfortunately, most of the time, the easy way is the wrong way. I mean, your son, you could say, oh, I'm sorry. Let me take the T-shirt off. Let me bend over a little bit. That's okay. Like this, I'm sorry I offended you. And everything would be fine. No cops arrive. No 2 years of pain and misery. And everybody back to be a slave. And these parasites sitting up like wanna-be gods in these school boards, pretty much to say, you see, that's the way it is. No. You know, the spirit of 1775 was there alive that day on the school ground. And I really say this is the most powerful thing, not just because what happened to you, your son, because I hope can inspire anybody else out there in every public school. You know, we got to stand our ground. The moment that we start always to, you know, take our pants down and surrender, we will lose. We will lose. This is something that we have to fight back. There is no other way. So I know it's been tough. I can imagine. On top, you know, you live in a small community. I mean, the risk to lose your rights, your gun rights, especially just because some, you know, uneducated jury or a jackass judge can pretty much play with you, political judge. I mean, this is very difficult, but you made it. I'm so glad about that. Listen, I want to say another thing also. You know, you realize that all this terrorism is pretty much being at least facilitated by the administration. This one, I believe also in the other one. I mean, the fact now that we have completely open borders, okay? You know that. And,
yeah.
And we have, of course, we defend the Iraqi borders better than our borders, okay? Meanwhile, we pretty much disarmed our soldiers. We don't trust, I mean, no, me and you, but the administration, and not just this one. Started with Clinton. They disarm our soldiers on bases. I mean, this is sound like a conspiracy to me, but it is not. It is true. They're pretty much setting us up for like we have enemies inside the walls and they're opening the gates. At the same time, they're pretty much paying for our enemies. Are you familiar that McCain and Graham, in 2013, they were pretty much went to Syria to fund this group, they're supposed to be the moderate group to try to turn over Assad in Syria.
Yeah.
But they were, after all, they were funding ISIS. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, I am. I'm also familiar with the recent $7 billion in sanctions relief given to Iran.
Exactly.
What the hell?
I mean, we are paying to our enemies, okay? And most of these enemies, we are financing them. So they are created. And at the same time, they are so concerned about our guns. Meanwhile, they have pretty much arming our enemies. I mean, for me, this is treason. And I don't need to be, a political scientist or a lawyer to understand that. And that's why I say I realize why they're so afraid of all the veterans and, of course, all the active duty. That's why they don't want to give them a weapon on the basis, because they don't trust you. They never trust you.
Tyrants fear an armed citizenry. If you fear me, then you have plans for me. Pure and simple.
So at this point, all I can say, every veteran out there listening, that maybe you lost hope, that maybe you think you don't have any more purpose, maybe you think now, you just forgot, and no, you still have a knot to fulfill. We need you. We need you more than ever. I mean, stop going to the VFW and getting drunk. Maybe go to the range and start to train other like-minded, law-abiding citizens. And when I say law-abiding, I'm not talking about people following the laws from the White House or the edicts. I'm talking about following the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. That's what I'm saying, because pretty soon we become all outlaws. I mean, for example, there's so many things now we can become outlaw. I mean, just because we don't want to follow an edict, an executive order from a wannabe tyrant from Kenya, I'm an outlaw. Guess what? I'm proud of it. And I will not follow these edicts. I will follow laws within the boundaries of the Constitution. So we need you, veterans. That's my message. That's why I want to show you. You are a veteran. You're a working man now. And, you're inspiring other veterans. And I'm so proud of you, and I thank you for that, not only for what you did behind your son, but also what you're doing now. Now, I like your YouTube channel very much because, as you said, it's not just about this political activism that I think is fundamental, but also it's about, you got great shooting there, and, this show is called Love, Guns, and Freedom. Normally during the second hour I talk about rifles, training, and different things. Tell us a little bit about your ideal configuration. What is your rifle that you pretty much to go, your pistol that you train with? Tell us a little bit about your weapons.
Well, my practical rifle, and by practical rifle, I mean just my a go-to rifle. It is a rifle that I built myself off a North Tech Defense receiver. Mm-hmm. I'm personal friends with Bill Geisley from Geisley Automatics, so of course I use all Geisley fire control. His handguard. I have a Cold Hammer forged barrel in this rifle. I always use an aim point. I love aim point they're just ungodly reliable. And the battery life is insane as well. Of course, with some backup iron sights. It has a graduated sight at the 600 meters. It is a 223-556 chambered rifle. With that rifle, I can get on a target, and actually I'm releasing it into a video here soon. I can maintain close to 500 rounds per minute at a target. I can release in 1.50 seconds 12 rounds into a target with this rifle. Just like I said, 1.50 seconds, 12 rounds on target at 15 yards. My sidearm that I prefer is, I like 1911s a lot, but right now I am running a Smith & Wesson M&P core model. I like the tall sights because I use suppressors. It has an apex trigger. Since I'm very trigger oriented, fire control oriented person, so I do like to get my triggers as close as I can to being similar altogether. I like a very short break and over travel, and I like a quick reset, and that's what this thing does for me. It is chambered in 9mm. My precision rifle is a custom build on a mega monolithic receiver. It has a Geisley fire control Krieger barrel. I can do double taps with it on the human target. I can send 2 rounds in the air with this rifle if the wind is good. And I got a video of it. We can put 2 rounds in the air, hit a steel target before the sound of the first impact round comes back. It's a very good rifle. It's extremely accurate. It's a little heavy at this point. I would like to either go carbon fiber for the barrel or something very heavily fluted that doesn't really distort the accuracy as the barrel tends to heat up. I'd like to look into that a little bit later. I use a Night Force sight, telescopic sight. Mm-hmm. And it has a backup Triticon RMR for, close range or multiple shots at a shorter range and distances. Those are my 3 go-to rifles. Shotgun-wise, I like Benelli, and I always will like Benelli. I can fire my Benelli almost as fast and accurate as I can my AR-15. They're just wonderful rifles, or shotguns for that. That's pretty much my small arms loadout.
Very good. I was looking at, you got very beautiful videos. I like also the one that you do from the helicopter. I mean, yes. That's very exciting stuff, I'm telling you. And normally, what do? You train, you got to go to a range, or you go in the boony? What you got a place? What is the best place normally you train around that?
It depends on what type of training we're doing. We're doing precision rifle training with, West Virginia, it's hard to come by flat, open land. Mm-hmm. So we go to strip mines for our precision rifle training. It's pretty wide open, and, it's really good. It's a little bit hard with the mirages, but and the wind's very, very unpredictable at these places, but hey, that's part of it. Yes. Range always dictates where we're going to be shooting, distance-wise, where we're shooting. Practical rifle training, we probably do the same thing. Go to a strip, make sure you have a positive backstop, for safety. Handgunning, you can pretty much do anywhere here. Most of our ranges we set up, there's public ranges, but we prefer to just not go to them because they're very dangerous. Yes. So, we, as a group, we just stick together and we train together and we fight, and our group, just happens to, have an aerial capability, so we train off of the helicopter. We, basically all this stuff, of course, you may never have to use any of these skills. Hell, it's fun. Who the hell wouldn't want to be strapped to the side of a Huey and shoot out of it? It's pretty fun. Yeah. We go to private land for all that, and it's perfectly legal. Have a lot of fun. Lisa. It's a very hard gunnery skill to do aerial platform shooting. It's very, very hard. It's probably the most challenging riflery you'll ever attempt. Because of the lagging, you have to just be an instinctive shooter with the approach of the helicopter, with the speed of the helicopter, the altitude of the helicopter. All these variables come into play when you're doing that kind of gunnery. It's really, really exciting. Yes, and I invite everybody. I will link, by the way, if you go to lovegunsfreedom.com, today's show, I will post a photo of you and also a direct link to your YouTube channel so people can join, become your friends, and subscribe to your channel, and just to get inspired watching what you're doing there in the part of America. And you can do, I hope, as you said, every one of us can do the same wherever we are. We can, inspire other people in our communities. And that's the way we're going to take this country back. It's not going to be coming from Washington. It's coming from us. If you want to look for the next hero, guess what? It's not coming from a white horse. It's not going to be called Captain America. It's going to be looking at yourself in the mirror tonight and realize that your son, your daughter, they're counting on us. They're counting on you. And we cannot fail them. Because this generation, if we are afraid to stand up, next generation will be doomed, and this country will be doomed for a long, long, long time. We cannot let this happen. I tell you, man, I sometimes I cry. I don't, people say, why you cry? Yeah, I cry. I'm a human being. I cry. And when I cry? I cry when I start to visualize. I got some movies that I like to watch. I watch the TV series of John Adams. Then I was watching the other one was, Sons of Liberty. Even if they are just movies now, these movies, they are real, at least part of reality that our founding fathers faced. The decisions that they had to do, the sacrifice they had to do, regardless of the differences. At the end of the day, they risked their life. They gave everything they had and more. The family was raped. The homes, they were burned. The limbs, they were, battered and tortured. And we are here. In this generation, we had it all, and we are so lazy we cannot even have the courage to get the freaking telephone and call your bastard congressman and tell him to stop this act of treason. We cannot even do that, but we can go to the stadium. We can go to watch stupid TV shows. No, this is exactly what made me cry. There is no more other place after this. I travel around the world, Alan, before I came here. I was 28, but I wasn't exactly what you call a virgin. I wanted to come to America. Before I make this decision, I want to see the rest of the world. I want to really see if this America is so special. Guess what? The rest of the world sucks. I mean, of course, yeah, you can say there is always good stuff out there, yes. But the rights, the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights that we have here and we had, because even we still have it, we are losing it. Nobody else has it. You're always a subject. Just to let you know, in Italy, just because of this conversation, I would be arrested. If I want to open a little blog or a magazine, I need to ask the permit to a judge. This is a law belonging to the king, before even Mussolini. Think about it. The Second Amendment doesn't exist in all Europe. We have here, our founding fathers died and fought for this, and we let them sleep like little kids. They're stealing that little candy out of our hands. We got to stand up. And sometimes I get
if I cry, it's a cry of rage. That's why I'm not a mad person. I'm a very nice, positive person. But when I see this, I get so mad. Anyway, Allen, I tell you, man, I'm glad I found you. So many reasons. First of all, really because I say I need some inspiration. Even sometimes, I try to keep my chin up. I always need more people to share this contagious of inspiring each other, and I do that. And I really thank you for your son, Jared. How's it doing, Jared? How old is he right now?
Jared's 16. He's 16 years old now.
Wow. So he's ready his own rifle, and he can pretty much train pretty soon. I guess he's already training right there. Is he training with you? Does he go out?
Every now and then he does.
Yeah. And, the point is, at least, for me, and I always say, it's not about the gun. It's about your mindset. We are the weapon. You can go out there even with a stick, even just with your words, and stand the line. At the end of the day, you are more dangerous than a weak person with the most expensive rifle. And that's the most important lesson I would like to share about this. It's about the mindset. To go there and do not stand down, do not be afraid, and act like a free human being. That's the bottom line. So, the gun is, as I said, is an extension. I don't care if you have, of course, better guns is better in better trained hands. By the end of the day, I'd rather to have a man or a woman who's not afraid, he has the good heart, and has a good training with a Mosina gun, $100 rifle, than to have like these people that you remember I was so sad when I saw during Katrina, there was a Fox News, I guess, little TV part segment, and they showed these two big guys, they were like, I think probably bodybuilders with long hair, living in this part of New Orleans, $5 million home. And the reporter came there and asked, by the way, what happened when the National Guard came to you and confiscated your guns? They came here because they knew that we had guns bigger than their guns. So what, idiot? You give their guns? I mean, that's the point. I mean, don't buy guns. If you have that type of mindset, save the money and get drunk. Seriously, don't do that. Because all you set a bad example, and that's going to be terrible for all of us.
Yes, sir.
That's all I'm saying. The mindset and the heart and the training is more important than any gun. And that's what we're talking about here. Listen, I want to give you the floor. This show is about pretty much, you can say whatever you want. Whatever I miss asking you, please go ahead, Allen.
Well, what I'd like to say is, again, the next step. You've seen the video, the next step. The next step is your personal accountability for yourself. Go out there, make your own videos. Get with people. Join the Oath Keepers. Join similar organizations. Oath Keepers it's national, and it's legitimate. Join them. Get on their forum. Link up with your fellow patriots, and develop a course of action. Remember, our actions are dictated by theirs. Bundy Ranch will give you an example. We can win this, and you don't necessarily have to kill anybody. You just need a show of force, that you're done, that this is it. We are done. We are demanding what is our God-given inherent right, and that is to be free Americans. That's pretty much all I have to say on that.
Perfect. I agree with you. By the way, funny you mentioned the Bundy. That was, for me, one of the most beautiful days in my American life. I had the honor to be there that April the 12th, and I was taking the video, and I realized, this is for me, fulfill my purpose. Even just the day was the last day. I never could experience the sense of I don't want to use the word pride, but dignity as a free human being, as an American, standing together with people I never met, with different religions. I don't care if you're a Mormon, if you're a Christian, whatever. We are here as united. And it was even about the cows. It was about our basic rights, and that was powerful. And as you said, we don't need to fight. All we need to do to stand up. That's our first fight. The first time, showing that we are not afraid. The moment that they, like a dog, when the dog smells that you're afraid, he goes for your throat. No way.
Sir.
You run, the dog is going to get you. Stand the dog, look into his eyes, give him a spit on his face. You'll start to see the dog start to have a different attitude. Maybe this guy is not that like a rabbit. Maybe he's another dog. Let's think about it. That's the point. And even if sometimes you're going to get scratched and scrapped, guess what? It's part of life. As I said, our founding fathers did much worse than what we're doing here, okay? And when I say worst,
A life lived on your knees is not a life at all.
Exactly. Now, question: you're still working now in the mine field? I mean, the mine business. You're still underground. What do you do exactly? You go under the ground. I've never been. I don't have any experience in this type of. Pretty rough.
Okay. Well, I'm primarily in the field of the extraction of metallurgical coal. That is a coal used to make steel. Mm-hmm. You know, that stuff that we used to make here in America. Basically, you know, it's a pretty dangerous job. You go way underground, miles underground.
Wow.
You're out of sight. You don't see the world for 10 hours or more.
Oh my God.
And it's a dirty job. You know, it's very dangerous. I basically make it safe for everybody to. I'm a roof bolter operator. I secure the roof, the mine roof, to keep it from falling in on people. That's my job.
My gosh.
So I have to go in there and make sure it's safe before anybody else can go. I have to secure all that area.
Wow.
But we're under severe attack. You know, the Obama's war on coal, they call it, the eco-terrorists have ravaged our economy here with spin, with these crazy global whining theories, and they've really affected us. They really have. This is a part of the plan. You know, didn't happen by stupidity, but this is the part of did pretty much bring America to a third world country level because they want to create a global government. I don't know if you're familiar with these keywords, New World Order, since the Bush father. I'm sure you heard about it. This is part of the plan. They need to pretty much deindustrialize America so we're all interdependent, and America is not going to have more its sovereignty and independence, but it needs to rely on other countries like China, like other countries now with the TPP. We're not going to be able to, pretty much stand for anything when our middle class is going to be so broke and dependent to the government. That's what they want us to do. So, this is pretty much part of the plan. They're not just trying to be playing saving the planet. They don't give a damn about the planet. They want just to enslave us all. This is part also of Agenda 21. I'm sure you're familiar. Yes, I am. When a nation does not produce its own goods, it will lose its sovereignty. I have a question, and I don't believe in parties because I pretty much ripped my Republican card 1 year ago, and for me now the only party I have it's America, Declaration of Independence, and its Constitution. Right. But the question is, I know that many miners in the blue collars areas, like for example Pennsylvania, and I don't know where you are. Normally they all voted for Obama, or at least Democrat. Would this the situation right now among your fellow brothers that they share the line of business that you do in the mining? They still voting for Obama? They're still supporting this bastard? They're destroying their livelihood? Oh, not at all. And here in West Virginia, we never did support Obama. He lost. I think there was an ex-convict who got more votes than he did in this state because we were more than aware of what his and he was open about it. He made no secretive, or he wasn't cryptic when he spoke about how he's going to destroy coal. He said he was going to destroy it, and he did. He's been very effective at that. So no, the only reason why that you would have people in the mining industry support Barack Obama is due to the fact of the political blindness and slavery that unions have to Democrats. And that's the only reason that you have that. That's the only reason why a coal miner would vote for him. If they were union, that's it. That's the only reason why you had that. Very good. Listen, at this point I want to say one thing. I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for the inspiration. I want to thank the mother of your child and your child, of course, for standing the ground and setting an example to the rest of the country. And, even I never met you, and maybe I don't know if I will ever meet you, I consider you a brother in freedom. And it made me proud to become an American just because of people like you. I want to thank you again. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Now, listen, guys, don't go away because I'm going to play a little song here. And then after, we're going to go for the second hour. We're going to talk about guns. We have an incredible guest, a guy that I met at the Bundy's ranch. We'll talk about rifles, but more important, we will talk about the purpose of the Second Amendment. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Lucas Zanna. Don't go away.
If you love wealth better than liberty, the tranquility of servitude than the animated contest of freedom, go from us in peace. We ask not your counsels or arms. Crouch down and lick the hands which feed you. May your chains sit lightly upon you, and may posterity forget that you were our countrymen. The line in the sand, you know the time is coming. in the sand. Are you going to watch while we're fighting? The line in the sand. Just tell me now where you're going to stand. How much more you gonna take it? How much more you gonna fake it? Now you decide what you'll do when they come. They'll come for you. Seconds before midnight.
He's a songwriter, a poet, a rifleman.
I'm not afraid.
And a constitutional activist.
I'm not afraid.
Italian by birth.
I'm not afraid.
American by choice. Gianluca Zanna.
I'm not afraid.
And his new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom. 16 powerful songs on one CD from the heart of a patriot. For download or to order the CD, go to www.lovegunsfreedom.com. That's www.lovegunsfreedom.com. Lyrics for your mind, music for your heart. Gianluca Zanna's new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom.
Here we go, guys. We are at the end of the first hour. There was The Line on the Sand, music and lyrics by myself. And as I said, not it's free. I mean, this show you're listening, I hope you appreciate it. I hope more important, it's not about the show. It is not about me, it's about the message, okay? And as I said, it's an act of love. For me, sometimes I think, I wish, I could do other things Sunday. And nobody's pointing a gun at me, don't get me wrong. At the same time, I realize that there's so many things I should do also for my own personal life. And they're taking more and more time on myself, on my family. That's okay. That's my little contribute I want to do. All I'm asking is this. If you want to support the show, if you want to support my attempt, with my imperfections, there are a lot of things I can do better. I know that. And probably many times you may not agree with me. Doesn't matter. But you know very well one thing. I never try to, if I know the truth, I never would like to deny it. If I am wrong, I'm the first one to say it. If sometimes I may say something you don't like, whatever, but I still believe they're right. The point is, I hope every one of you listeners, if I can ask you one thing, first of all, try to share the show with as many people as you can. Try to share the message, inspiring each other. And then if you can, do your own show. I don't want to be here. I wish other people can do this. I've been given this opportunity. I want to use it to the fullest. That's the bottom line. At the same time, I'm trying to be here to keep this message free and not constrained by any type of corporate sponsors. Not because I don't like sponsors, but sometimes sponsors they dictate also what you can say. Or this is too radical, or this is too extreme, or we're going to irritate the other side. No, I am what I am in my beliefs. So I want to keep this show free. If you can support me, that's the way. All you have to do is 99 cents. For example, like the song that you just heard, The Line in the Sand. I wrote more than 100 songs, from love songs, pop songs, political songs, freedom songs, everything. Go to my website, lovegunsfreedom.com. There is a music section. And also you can see there is a new place. It's called pretty much the Liberty Gift Shop. And there are different things you can help the show with. Postcards. Now we have the Confederate Gifts section. And we already talked about this last Sunday, the Confederate. Yeah, the Confederate is part of our American history. And I don't just talk about, the Southern gifts, but also gifts from the North Army, the Union, and their hats and their flags and their memorabilia. It's our heritage, it's our history. Doing that, purchasing any of these items, you can help this show to be free. That's all I want to say. Now, as I said, the second hour, on Love, Guns, and Freedom, we have an incredible guest. I really believe this show is giving me the opportunity to meet people that I met one time or I wanted to meet. It's like a circle. And this guy is the guy that I met the day, the April the 12th, 2015, on that bridge during the standoff with the Bundys against the federal, troops, if you want to call them, or the mercenaries, whatever. And they were pointing rifles at us. And I was there with many other fellow Americans down in the canyon. And the rifles, they were pointed at us. They were unarmed. But guess what? Behind us, we had good men with weapons, ready to defend us in case they had to. And that was for me the most beautiful thing, to have found people like him. And even I never really met them before, I hugged them after this standoff, and I call him my brother. Now, don't go away. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Lucas Zanna. Stay tuned.
You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Lucas Zanna on United States.fm network. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Lucas Zanna on United States.fm network.
Here we go. This is Lucas Zanna. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom on KTOX 1340 AM and on United States.fm network. This is the hour. Normally I talk about guns, and as I said, guns for me, it is not just something to show off, or maybe just for hobby or for hunting. I do not even really hunt unless I am in survival mode. The Second Amendment, it's the most important right that not many other parts of the world, almost nowhere else, honestly, I've been traveling around the world, has, okay? It's the most unique for me of all the rights that we have in America. It's pretty much the right that is the last line of defense against tyranny and freedom. That's the bottom line. So this is not something like for sporting purposes, like many politicians trying to tell us. I don't know, I have rifles to go hunt ducks or doves. All my rifles, they are military-grade rifles. And the only reason why I really have them is because I want to be ready in case one day tyranny, that we already have, by the way, now we have soft tyranny, but it's going to become pretty soon hardcore tyranny, knocking at your doors, or pretty much start to try to grab people, put them in the, in the trucks or in trains, something already happened in the past in this country. So don't start to say, guys, oh, this is America, never going to happen. All I have to tell you, World War II, under that bastard called FDR, we had thousands of Japanese Americans, also Italian Americans, also German Americans. They were pretty much in concentration camps for years. Okay? So already happened, and we must be sure it doesn't happen anymore. Now, today's, in the second hour of Love, Guns, and Freedom, I have the honor to bring with me as my guest who I call a brother in freedom. I don't know this man really. I just met him for a few seconds. The day last year was April 2014, in the middle of the the Nevada desert, and there was this epical standoff during the Bundy's ranch. And that day, I met a man with another friend and several of them that I never really met before, but I felt a bond as a brotherhood. And the situation was very simple. Now we'll go more into details. I was there with many others in the canyon, standing up with my First Amendment to try to make a point, and try to exercise our First Amendment. And we wanted to give a little bit of help to the Bundys to get their cows back. And more important, to tell to the BLM, this is not right what you're doing. You're enforcing something that is completely tyrannical. Meanwhile, they were pointing rifles at us. And I said already, I am not for violence. I'm a peaceful man. And at the same time, I also decided that I am not going to be a victim, not just of regular scumbags, but also any type of tyrannical government victim. But that day I was unarmed because I wanted to be part of the media. I was there with my video cameras, and I did a video of that. And I didn't want to give any opportunity to these pirates, these contractors, whatever they were, drawing guns, loaded guns on American people. I didn't want to give excuses to shoot us. We were very close that day. But one thing I knew, I felt good about it. If these bastards were starting to shoot at any of us, they were behind us. American people ready to risk their lives and also their everything. Because they're talking about this is serious stuff. This is not a movie. It looked like a movie, but it was real. So best case scenario, you can go to, in some Guantanamo at least right now with the National Defense Authorization Act. So this was one of my brothers that I'm so happy that I found him again on Facebook. And here we are. I mean, this is, for me, the most powerful thing, to find each other and now finally sharing this story. His name is Eric J. Parker. Eric, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, man. Maybe I did it a little too boring and too long, but I hope people got the idea to understand what went
There's a lot to say. So
yes,
a lot to say.
Now, speaking about, telling me a little bit about you. I met you for a few minutes there. We were after this almost magical event, dramatic event, but hopefully, we were happy. Everything went smooth. Nobody got hurt. And, the Bundys got their cows back and everybody was fine. But tell me a little bit, first of all, you as an American, where are you from? You don't need to get too many details, but tell us a little bit who you are. You're a working man, you got family. Who are you?
Yeah, like you said, my name's Eric, and I live in Idaho. I'm an electrician. I got 2 kids. I'm married. Have a mortgage. I'm just a regular guy.
Mm-hmm. And how did you find out about this Bundy situation? I mean, from Idaho to Nevada is kind of a drive. I mean, how did you find out that? Because you drove all the way down. I mean,
so we saw the video online of Clive and son being tased, and then trying to see what was in them dump trucks. And I'll be honest, I got mad. I lived in Nevada for a while when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the title of the video was, something about a riot in Nevada. So I clicked on it and I watched it and I was appalled. I got pissed off. And so we started paying attention at that point. And, as it proceeded and I did some research looking into it, and I realized how wrong it was, what was going on, how it didn't set well with me.
Mm-hmm.
And we decided we were going to go.
How many hours? How many hours driving from where you live to the place of the Bundy's ranch?
Like 11 or 12.
Okay, a nice day drive.
Yeah, it was a good drive. I called a couple of my buddies and said, "Hey, I'm going," and two of them were willing to come with me, and were excited to come with me. They felt the same way I did. As we were getting ready, we saw I don't know who he was. It was a legislator, I guess, or something, say the people coming to support Clive and Bundy better bring funeral money and body bags or something like that.
Wow.
And
all I know
it was on TV, and there was this video of this guy, and he's standing there and he's saying, anybody coming to support Clive and Bundy, with their First Amendment, better be prepared to die.
Yeah, Senator Reid, Senator Reid said that we were domestic terrorists. That was one of the people that pretty much tried to make us look bad. We were domestic terrorists right there. I don't know about the body bags, but he was a scumbag for sure, calling us domestic terrorists. I remember that.
Oh, yeah, and it wasn't Harry Reid. It was some other legislator. He was from that area.
Okay.
People can go look it up. They'll find it.
Yeah, no problem. It doesn't matter. It's okay. Go ahead.
But at that time, we decided it got more serious, and we took it more serious, So we jumped in my truck and drove down there. Got there Friday night. Made camp and got up on Saturday, and that's when the day happened.
Yeah, and
we weren't there for very long.
Before I go ahead, one thing I want to ask you, because you mentioned before you got family, you got a wife, you got 2 children to take care. I mean, I'm sure you talked to your wife. And what she said, because, it's more than human to say, husband, maybe you shouldn't do that. I mean, we got 2 kids to take care, a mortgage, and what something happens to you. How did she get along with this? What was the interaction?
Well, I should start by saying, she understands why I needed to go. And she probably understands that there wasn't much stopping us from going. She had no idea that Routers was going to drop down and take a picture of my face just like I did. Like, I had no idea that was going to happen either, that whole situation.
Yes. And let me explain to the listeners, because maybe somebody's new and say, what is going on? The router, the picture, what are you talking about? Okay, let me tell you. April the 12th, 2014, there was this historical standoff that thankfully ended up peacefully. Nobody got hurt. But American citizens, they were pretty much facing the barrels of armed BLM, contractors, whatever. We were pretty much ready to be shot, okay? Point blank. Behind us, there were American citizens that pretty much the statement was this: if you shoot them, we will not let it happen. And that's something the most powerful thing, because, that for me was exactly the proof of what the Second Amendment is about. It's not about duck hunting. It's about defending freedom against tyranny. And I really believe in the deepness of my heart that the day things didn't get sour, nobody got slapped around, nobody got tased, nobody got shot, because people like you behind, they were making a statement that we are here and we're not going to let this happen. Nowhere else in the world that would have never happened with our Second Amendment that we have here. So that's exactly what happened. You were behind us on top of the highway, and somebody snapped a beautiful shot of you. By the way, it looked pretty cool, I must tell you. That's something your sons, they're going to be very proud of you, I think. You're going to talk about this forever. But the point is, your father's was everywhere, correct?
Right.
So that's now, listeners, you know what's going on. And I will post that photo also on lovegunsfreedom.com, because I want you to see exactly what's going on. Now, what happened after that photo was published on everywhere, pretty much? Did you get phone calls or visit from agents or whatever? I don't know. I have no idea. I want always to ask you, what happened?
So, well, the standoff happened, and thank God nobody got hurt. And we got back to the camp, and we realized what had happened, and really started to process it, and decided to get out of there and live to fight another day. We went home, drove home, and by the time we got to, I don't know, probably Ely, the Facebook pictures started, and I had told the Routers lady who I was, prior to the whole thing happening, she was interviewing everybody up there on the bridge.
Yeah.
And so they had my name already, so there it was, the picture and the name. And friend request started on Facebook, and Facebook memes started popping up, and it was all just kind of overwhelming, really. But really, when I got home, you know, that's when I saw it. You know, my wife was pretty shocked. You know, it was all over the news. I'm
sorry, I'm laughing, but this is almost like a movie, like a tragic comedy, okay? And don't get me wrong, this is amazing. You know, the fact that, I don't know, I'm very proud. I'm very proud of you and everybody out there was there, you know? And so ended up that, did you get any visit from the man in black with a black?
No, never once.
Okay. Excellent.
You know, the way I see it, you know, once the media said the FBI was involved, you know, I really kind of started living down the rabbit hole, you know, every squeak and crack at night, I thought it was them coming through the door. Yeah. And, you know, I wasn't letting my kids sleep in the living room because I was afraid they were going to flashbang my living room.
I don't blame you. You know, I want to say something to the people out there because I had some interactions coming back from the standoff. By the way, we need to remember this date. For me, it's an historical day in American history. Was April the 12th, 2014. Correct? So that was the day, and it was Saturday. And this is something that I think we should put, you know, as we were talking before, you know, like the Battle of Athens. I know that you mentioned that, you know, when we met for the few minutes that we were interacting, I was so excited, and I came out with this part of history that, unfortunately, the propaganda and the government doesn't want us to remember. The Battle of Athens, Tennessee, not Athens, Greece. Go check it out, people. I don't have time now for this, but it's so important to remember that type of historical event, how the Second Amendment, you know, was used to try to stop tyranny at local level in Athens, Tennessee. And so the same way here, even bigger, in my opinion, in this standoff at the Bundy's ranch. So the April the 12th, we must remember, in my opinion, this day is very important. But what I want to try to say is, for all the critics out there, all these government bootlickers, they say, you know, how dare you point a rifle to government agents. I would like to say, how dare you, government, pointing loaded weapons at law-abiding American citizens unarmed on top. You know, they cannot even put National Guard with ammunition on the southern borders because the administration and the government is so corrupted that they must send our National Guards as puppets, just a showcase, without even a real ammo in the AR-15 or M16, whatever they have. But they can load up loaded rifles and point it at mom and pop there in the middle of the Nevada desert. That's what is so disgusting. I'm not disgusted with the people pointing rifles at us because that's already a done deal. I'm disgusted with all these brainwashed zombies out there that they try to justify that. Okay? And meanwhile, we had few good men and women too behind us. They were risking their life, their families, and everything else they had. And it's not just their lives. It's also the physical life because, you know, you can go to jail for the rest of your life and worse than dying. And meanwhile, you try, you know, I rather die. At least it's quick. Then, you know, your family has to go through all the dramas and lawyers and stuff. So these people put everything like our founding fathers on the table. The bottom line was we didn't point rifles at them first. They did it to us first. You know very well, not only they tased the few days before unarmed people because they were trying to corral them in this this sort of a free
speech zone.
Yeah, free speech zone. Sorry, when I get excited, my English starts to get really bad. But my point is, no, they also tased them, and then they were pointing rifles from the hill. They were snipers, like they were training to go to Afghanistan on unarmed farmers. That's the sickening thing. So no, they started to play rough. They started to play dirty. All we did, we were saying, you know what? This is a message. Don't do that. Because this is not India. We are not going to be like a bunch of Indians from Gandhi, okay? As much Gandhi, say, peaceful. We are peaceful, but don't start to mess with us. Anyway, so that's the point. That's why I want to say that. Everybody...
Well, yeah, and I'd like to say, too,
Go ahead. Say something, please.
At that point and at that time, when they said over the loudspeaker, we've been authorized to use lethal force.
Yes.
If you take another step.
Yes.
At that time, I did not think I was looking at any kind of law enforcement. There was no telling me that they weren't contractors, somebody hired.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be honest, if this situation should ever arise again, that was an issue. The issue was they're down there with their perceived authority, yelling through a bullhorn that they've got the authority to kill everybody.
Yeah.
And how do we know they're federal agents? How do we know that? Where did they get their authority from?
At least at this point, for me, I don't care if it's the Pope. I don't care if it's whatever you think it is. You try to shoot at innocent people unarmed. We got a problem here. I don't care if you got dressed up.
I can either defend my life, or I can't. I live in a country where I can defend my life from anybody.
Exactly. I mean,
it doesn't matter.
No, I'm not saying me and you, but unfortunately, the masters, they're kind of brainwashed. They think, oh, you got a uniform, you got a badge, so bend over and take it. No. I mean, somebody's trying to harm an innocent person. You know, we're talking about average people there. We are there exercising our First Amendment, and that's what it's about. Nobody was pointing a rifle at them. We were just there. That's the point. And you cannot do that. If we were, you know, I have nothing against Mexicans, but the point is the politically correctness is true. And by the way, you know, I'm an immigrant, okay? The only thing that I didn't jump the fence, I came with a visa, with an airplane. But the point is, they try to do that crap at the southern border. Like now, for example, you know, there is this big mass invasion, you know, 1,000 a time. They can't even point a loaded rifle. They can just tase them, okay? If somebody shoot an illegal alien carrying drugs, the border patrol spent 5 years in jail. But try to
they've all been ordered to stand down.
Yeah.
It's an atrocity.
Yeah, and now look at these Americans. I mean, come on, even if you don't agree with us or whatever, look at the situation here. It's all upside down, okay? They were pointing loaded rifles at American people unarmed just because they were there to exercise our First Amendment. Now, more about you, you know. Tell me, you came back home pretty much, you spent a few months probably freaking out a little bit, and maybe your wife got a little mad at you, I don't know, and please, you know, I understand about that, even if she was. But then you were back to normal life, correct? I mean, so far, your friends, everything's cool there in Idaho. And
yeah, everything was all right. You know, I went back to work. I would come home at night, though, and it would be, you know, Bill Maher or MSNBC, or, you know, a friend would send me a link online, Alex Jones talking, or somebody, you know. Yes. And it really, it blew me away that on all sides of the spectrum, nobody could say, hey, they pointed weapons at those people, and they said they had authorization to kill them.
Exactly.
You know, you never heard that once. Exactly. Maybe on Alex Jones once, but when Alex, you know, saw the picture of me, he said, well, that might be a little too far. Maybe he's an antagonist. No. And, you know, Alex wasn't there. Even he sent his journalist that was really good with the interview and the reportage. But the point is, they started to point the rifles at us immediately. Right. Okay? You know, you never saw that on Bill Maher when they were talking about arresting all the right-wing extremists. You know, at the beginning, you know, this sort of a canyon, you know, they started with few people there, and they felt pretty strong, these bastards. That, by the way, I agree with you. I don't think even they are BLM. They look to me more, especially the spokesperson, it looks like out of Black Waters for me, the way he dressed, the way his beard. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but it doesn't look like a regular federal agent, okay? But regardless, I don't care what it is at this point. For me, it's a person who is following unconstitutional orders, and they're evil orders, okay? So the point is, they started to feel very strong at the beginning. They thought they could put some fear into us because they saw maybe just few of us, and they say, you know what, we're going to show them who's boss. Then when they saw that the group started to get bigger, they said, wow, maybe things are changing. But then the worst part, they started to realize that the group not only was getting bigger, and they was slowly pushing forward. Even we had loaded guns. Let me tell you, I'm a regular guy, okay? And I never had a pointed rifle, about 60 yards for me, more than one rifle pointed at me, okay? That's pretty much, and I even didn't think that day. I didn't care. Think about it. I was even born here. And that for me was the most powerful thing. I'm not born here, and I don't give a damn about your rifle. Kill me if you want. And when I said, you see around, there were under 200 people. They were born here, and they say, you know what? We are really tired of you. You want to shoot us? Go ahead. They started to freak out. They started to understand that it was not going to be a regular day to bust us around. But more important, then they saw, even if there are few of us, they saw this is different. And I tell you, I really believe you made a difference, and people like you made a difference today to keep this peaceful.
Because otherwise, maybe could have happened something different. At least get shot with some paintballs. Let's start with that, So what do you think about the fear that maybe somebody behind us, on our side, could have done by accident or even maybe by false flag? I mean, think about it. They want to create a drama that happened in the past.
No doubt.
I was very fearful about that, honestly, to have somebody infiltrating our side, even just shoot a firecracker, just make a noise.
I was going to say just now, a backfire on the highway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and like I said, I got there on Friday, so I didn't have any dealings with anything that was going on before.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really know the specifics on everything that was going on out in that desert, but I know that on the bridge, and it wasn't just me, I had true, real Americans like you right there next to me. You were doing your shooting with a camera. That was just as important. I feel that probably is what kept us all out of, Guantanamo Bay, like you said.
You're right. Guantanamo was waiting.
The First Amendment and the Second Amendment hand in hand, we showed what can be done that day.
No.
But I think, we were all being very careful, I guess is what I'm saying. We were all very aware. They threatened to shoot gas into the crowd first.
Mm-hmm.
And I made sure to, voice out loud, hey, if they shoot tear gas canisters into this crowd, you can't return fire on them. It's non-lethal force.
Yeah.
And we're not going to be in the wrong today.
Yeah, no,
and,
I want to credit every one of you guys. You were there, even people that maybe I never will meet in my life, but you being super cool. Not only being there with the courage to be there and taking the risk, but also understanding when it's time and when it's not the time. And because sometimes people get very excited, and it's easy, especially for people that they don't do this for a living, okay? I mean, we are regular guys. You're an electrician, I am a songwriter. I mean, we're regular people just working. So we don't do this every day. And to keep it cool and to understand the situation and to act accordingly, I think it was amazing because we were many of us. All we needed one mistake and that would have been very much a disaster, So I want to say this is, it's like a miracle in many ways. Now, what do you think about, are you familiar with the National Defense Authorization Act?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, now, according to this law, for me, it's a constitutional law, but in their book, it's a law. Any one of us, Americans, doesn't matter with accent or without accent, even people that you think you're born here, that probably, you think, hey, I'm more American than you, that's fine. The point is, even you guys, you were born here, guess what? Just because you may be suspected, not even found guilty, just suspected to be a terrorist, just because some government bureaucrat doesn't like your face, or maybe because there is a glitch on the computer, you can be kidnapped and indefinitely detained without due process, indefinitely. Not even in China they do this. At least in China, they arrest you, they give you a phony trial, and then they shoot you in the back in the middle of the square. Okay, at least they know where your body is, your family, okay? Instead, this is the new America we're living. That's why it's so important to understand this is not a game. Every one of us now, just because we want to stand up and we can become a target. So that's, even this show, even be here on this show, I want to thank you, by the way, because I would have understood if you say, look, you know what, as much as I like, but I don't want to be on the show. I got enough, heat on me. And I would respect for that and understand you. And for me to be back here 1 year later and bring this back up and share with our fellow Americans and even people from around the world, and maybe some evil ears, hope you can hear it well. We are not afraid of you, okay? And you try to do anything to any one of us. I don't care if I have to walk on my knees. I will go to Idaho and I'm going to find you where you are. That's all I'm saying. And I'm a regular Joe. I'm a regular guy, and I'm not even born here. And I know many other people that were born here, and they have probably more training than I do, and they're even more pissed off than I am. They're going to help you out, too. That's my only message. I wanted to bring you back here. At this point, as Benjamin Franklin said, or we hang together, or we hang separately. And this is the time we're facing. What do you think about this statement? Is it true?
Yeah, it's absolutely true. It's time to stand up. That's the one thing I got out of everything that happened.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't plan on any of that to happen, but there I was, the pictures, everything else, and you have this supposed giant machine built up against us, you know, the NSA, the NDAA, all these laws and organizations. When he said that, he being Harry Reid, when he said that everybody there was a domestic terrorist, I called my lawyer back, and I said, hey, so now am I on that list? And he said, well, yeah, you were probably on that list since the minute you walked off that bridge. And I said, well, how do you challenge that list? And he said, there's no way to challenge that list. I said, well, how do you know if you're on the list? And he said, there's no way to know if you're on the list. I said, so I can have one politician on TV say, hey, he's a domestic terrorist, and now I have to worry about being black-bagged, drug off, kidnapped for the rest of my life.
Yeah, without due process, without anything. This is the
without due process. Yeah, give me my day in court. I'll explain myself over and over. But, you know.
And the list is secret.
You can't just drag Americans off like that, and that's what they've claimed to have the authority to do.
This list is secret. You don't find out till you try to test it. For example, you know, one of the Bundy's family, one of the sons, he went to I had him on my show, he went to the airport in Phoenix with his little daughter, and they treat him like Osama bin Laden, if not worse. Okay? I mean, seriously. I mean, and they told him, you are on the list. And this guy is just the son of a farmer that was there with his father, tried to stand up with his rights. And he was tased, by the way, unarmed. And, you know, that's the point, guys. And this is my point. You know, that's why exactly I jump in my car. Even I didn't have to drive like you had to drive 12 hours. I drove my 4 hours or so, 5 hours. And when I saw unarmed women or regular people, just because they were asking questions in the middle of the desert and they didn't want to submit like a bunch of cattle, like cows, in this free speech zone. You know what? When there is a desert around, they tell you, oh, you gotta be here to talk. Guess what? I don't care if it was about cows. I don't care if it was about Mormons. I don't care about whatever it was. For me, there was enough. There was an act of tyranny, and we needed to stick together. And I wanted to say something about you, lady. You know, I'm so proud of you, too, to stand behind you. And sometimes I understand, you know, you can say, you know, I had 2 kids. We had to take care of them. And that's exactly what you were doing. Because next time could happen to any one of you guys in Idaho. We have so many problems now with the EPA or the, you know, BLM taking over people's property. And sometimes, you know, we gotta stick our neck a little bit out because whatever you did today for this family in Nevada is an example that we sent to Washington. That now we can help each other no matter where we live. Or at least we try to help each other no matter where we live. Because tomorrow could happen to you and your neighborhood. Don't you think that?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. We actually, so when I got back, I had Brandon Curtis, the 3% of Idaho, reach out and get a hold of me. And he was just forming up his group, and he asked me to come in and help him build the group and build the state. And we did that for about a year. We worked on logistics of our group and worked on our mission statement, our code of conduct, and going to local law enforcement. And we've built a good group. We vet all of our members, and we, you know, we're active in the state. We're active for a constitutional carry bill. You know, we're really trying to get active in the communities. And what happened was we got a phone call about the Sugar Pine Mine. Did you hear about that?
Yes, in Oregon, right?
So we got that phone call, and Oath Keepers were putting security on the mine, and they needed help. And we jumped in an RV with about 10 or 12 of us, and went over there and helped them out with that. And what we did was establish security around the mine until that miner could get his court date. And we started a process of vetting volunteers coming in, and very similar to the Bundy Ranch, volunteers from all over came out once we made that call out on social media. People put down what they were doing once again. And a lot of the same people that were on that bridge, I might add, decided that they were going to put down what they were doing as well and get over to Oregon. And what we did was run a professional operation. We put security on the mine. We had the Patriot Railroad bringing in donations. That was formed during the Bundy Ranch. That's a thing on social media there where people can donate from across the country and they'll get it to wherever it needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
We held the mine and the staging ground until he got a court date, and the judge ruled that the BLM didn't have the authority or the jurisdiction to do what they were trying to do to that man.
Wow.
And they had come up there and told him they were going to burn down his mine and take his equipment.
Oh my gosh! I mean, that's, you know, there's so much. You know, I heard, I was following, but I didn't know all these details about the burning down the mine and all this stuff. Did you get this information? I mean, this on video or on audio?
Yeah, there's a lot of videos you can see. You know, that was part of it, was getting the word out there, because, you know, we didn't have any media that was covering it.
Yeah.
In any professional manner.
Yeah.
There's videos out there though, and there's articles and everything now that it's over. You know, I'd like to touch on the Southern Poverty Law Center.
Oh yeah, go ahead, please. I'm one of his guests, by the way, since 2005. You know, 1 month before even I became a citizen. There is a nice profile on me. You can check it out if you want to laugh. But go ahead, please.
You know, the Southern Poverty Law Center, they seem to involve themselves wherever we are as a patriot network, wherever we're operating. And they want to paint us as right-wing extremists, incessionists, resurrection, whatever the word is there. They are lying, and it really bothers me, because they've already, if you look into the Southern Poverty Law Center, the FBI stopped using them because somebody used their lies and their lists to start shooting people. And they went out and they killed people with that list.
Yes.
And you know, I'm more afraid of what they're causing than I am of the government coming in and black bagging me. You know, I'm more afraid that some wacko is going to read their lies and come try to hurt me or my kids.
You're right.
You know?
You're right.
And that's what, you know, that's the thing. That's the issue. They got involved again over at Sugar Pine Mine and tried to spin their narrative and everything else. And I think that's really an issue. It is, you know, the FBI stopped using them as a reference. That was good, but I think they need to be, you know, stopped. There needs to be put to them.
It is a terrible, unfortunately, some agencies, even law enforcement, they've been using them. It's scary. You know, these are the most corrupted group. First of all, is an organization pretty much, they are millionaires. They're making multi-million lawsuit and making money for themselves. And more important, they spew fuel full of lies. They put a couple of, real racist or dangerous element, and then they start to mix and match and to put us look bad just by association, because you're on the same page, on the same group list, okay? So it's amazing. But, you know, at this point, all I'm saying, we got to do what we think is right. We know this is not exactly what it is, you know, it's not easy. And if it was easy, everybody would do it. What I pray, though, that people from every state, you know, we want to help each other, of course, but we have also families, responsibilities in our own community. And I hope people in Oregon, people in Nevada, people in Arizona, everybody needs to start to organize. This is the time we have to create emergency response team of law-abiding people. And when I say law-abiding people, means law that must be godly. That means even if you don't believe in God, you believe in justice. You believe in what is right. You don't believe in just following the orders of a tyrant. Okay, we have a Bill of Rights for that. So beside the religious aspect, even if you're an atheist, doesn't matter. We have a Bill of Rights. We are human beings. We all have rights. That's the bottom line. When the government starts to pretty much infringe on these basic human rights, we have the duty to start to stick for each other, and we should start to pretty much step up in our own communities. You're doing great. But for you, I think it's a lot also effort, leaving the job, leaving the hours behind, the money that you lose, family that is behind, and risking your life and everything. Something happens to you. It's time that you need to, I'm not saying what you have to do, but I hope more people in their own communities, like in Oregon, they didn't need to have 10 people coming from Idaho. They need people coming from Oregon. And of course, if we can, if you have extra time, that's fine. But I hope every community starts to prepare. Don't you think it's time really to use this time to organize us? Because we see what can happen, correct?
That's absolutely what time it is. It's time to organize. It's time to get into groups in your community, start neighborhood watches, start organizing political rallies, protests, all of these things that we have the right to do.
Exactly. And, keep it small, keep it family, keep it neighbors. We don't need tell me whatever you think, but I don't like when something starts to become advertised and become like, I want to know people that are in the group. They're like people that maybe I've been knowing before, family, friends, cousins, or even people that we've been maybe growing up together. Because when you start to put out something too big, especially if it is not grassroots, but there is a head, two things can happen. One, they can chop the head, and that's it. That's over. And more important, the head can be corrupted, and then you control the head, you control the rest of the body. So I always say small, keep it simple, and start to have a real practical plans. And we saw exactly the practical things that happen in at the Bundy's ranch, and things could have been done better for sure, but at least we had enough people to pull it together. Now, tell me a little bit about rifles. These hours, normally we talk a lot about tactical things, or at least training things. This is, for me, the most important thing is the mindset. We're talking about, at this point in a lifetime, to decide when it's time to get a rifle and say, okay, I'm going to risk my life to defend innocent's life. And that's, for me, the most powerful thing about this lesson. But now a little bit more on the tactical, or at least practical rifle part. What was the rifle you were using the day for your self-defense and defense of others?
It was a Siega 223.
Okay.
It's a Kalashnikov platform, bored down for 223.
Okay.
Round.
And is that your main rifle that you train with? That's your main?
No, I brought that one because it was a desert. I didn't expect to be in that situation,
Mm-hmm.
so it wasn't really the rifle for the situation.
Okay.
But having said that, I did bring it because it's the desert and it's a Kalashnikov platform. It can get dirty.
Yeah, that's good.
No big deal.
Good. Normally, what do you use your basic rifle, your main rifle you train with?
Shannon AR-15.
Okay, AR-15 platform. Okay, good. And any place normally you like to train, or anything you like to share with us about training with rifle?
Well, the basics. I had never owned an AR-15 before a year and a half ago, to be honest with you. I always hunted, and I had my shotguns and my rifles and my pistols, and I never had an AR. What we did was get into a small group. This was before the Bundy Ranch. This was just 4 or 5 of us.
Mm-hmm.
And we had enough, sick and tired of complaining about it, seeing it. And we thought, well, we need to be proactive. And in that, we decided we would get together once a week, arm ourselves, become fluent with those weapons, prepare ourselves sustainability-wise, make sure we were working on our preps. You can't fight if you can't eat.
Exactly.
And these kind of things. We said we'd get together once a week and do that, and that's really where it started for us. We had been doing that for, a couple months before that day.
Wow.
In April. And when we came back, we joined in with a larger group, the 3% of Idaho, and really started on a larger scale, working on the whole state, zones, counties in the zone, working on that structure, working on those plans. Really the goal is to get neighbors, helping neighbors and working with neighbors.
That's great.
But with the ability to rise up and defend the whole.
Exactly. We're talking about defending. You know, if somebody out there say, oh my God, this is sound like something rebellious, something so evil. Let me tell you something, guys. History is repeating itself, you believe it or not. And we're talking about scenarios. Scenario, there could be many, you know, different line in the sand. Everybody can pick their line in the sand. Let's start with the basic one. You have a house, you have a home, you have property, and tomorrow the EPA said, you know what, there is a jumping frog here. Guess what? You got to pack and go. They give you 2 weeks and you're out of here. And nobody pay attention. There is no media coverage. And, you know, if you don't move, they send you the SWAT team and you're gone. That's the number one scenario. Number two could be tomorrow. Guess what? You got kids and you don't want to get forced vaccinations. The government decided that you must be vaccinated. So, you know, nobody's going to touch anybody unless somebody wants to be touched, especially with the needles. And there are so many other scenarios. The guns is not just the only issue for me, at least, you know. So, and maybe somebody tomorrow say, you know what, without any type of warrant, we're going to come into your home and pick you up and talk to you, and you disappear, like happened in Chile during Pinochet. There are so many things now we're living. And more important for all the people that say, nah, this is not happening here. I say again, go check it out. National Defense Authorization Act. I don't care if you're left, right, center, middle. I don't care. We are all in danger. This is the most important thing. We all should freak out. So that's my point. Now, do you go to any school, any type of training facility to train?
No. What we do as a group, what we try to do is find the right people for the right positions. Mm-hmm. One of those positions is training officer. On the county level, on the zone level, and on the state level. And that person usually is NRA certified and been through all of these classes and everything and has that knowledge. Maybe he has combat training, maybe he doesn't, you know. And then we offer classes mm-hmm. to the general membership for free, these kind of classes that would cost, you know, $250 to go take a combat pistol class.
Okay.
We're offering those classes out in the desert to our members.
Okay.
For free.
I have a surprise for you. For you and your friend, that I consider myself a brother, even I never really met him after this event. I think his name is Scott, right?
Yeah, Scott.
Okay, you and Scott, I'm going to give you a 4 days rifle class at Frontside, Nevada. It's a $2,000 class.
Oh, wow.
Both of you, it's a certificate. You can redeem anytime you want. After the show, I will send you the information. And you have 4 days rifle class at Frontside, Nevada. It's a great experience. Even this is just a basic rifle class. If you want to do the advanced classes, you need to first distinguish. But regardless, it's a lot of good information. Yeah. More important, a lot of training, a lot of good stuff. I just pray.
Oh, I would love to go do that.
Yeah. So I give you also a buddy because Scott is great. You know, you were there with him, and even he's not on the show right now. I want to give this gift to both of you guys. So you got both 4 days rifle class at Frontside, Nevada, offered by myself. And if you go to the website frontside.com, you will see the 4-day basic class is $2,000 a la carte. Okay, so it's paid by me now. Question, and of course, thanks to the show and the supporters of the show. So guys, you know, this show, as I remind you, I do not count on corporate sponsors, but I count on help. Every one of you with just 99 cents can go to my website, zarna.us, download any of my songs, and that's the way I can keep doing this show and also spread the wealth, as somebody at the White House would say. That's the way I like to spread the wealth. So you got 2 classes for me, and I just pray, though, I must tell you, Frontside does a background check because they have to do that, you know, because they want to be sure they don't teach important skills like this one to felons. And you're not a felon, by the way. You got there, you got a gun. But after this accident or this event, I would like to see. Let me know, please, in case there is any type of strange things now, because it needs to go through a background. Let's see if they give you any hard time, and let me know, and then we will share it with the public in case that. I hope not, and I want to say no, but you never know. Now we live in a new America, you know, without due process, they can just put you in a special magic list, you know. But all I'm saying, you got 2 certificates for you and Scott, and I'll send you all the details later. Now, we almost pretty much here, you know, I want to talk a little bit after this about ammo. Normally I share things like different type of deals, rifles. But I thought today was the most important lesson here. Try to get pretty much understanding the true purpose of the Second Amendment. And this is exactly if we have even just 5% of the American population understand our rights and they're ready to stand up to pretty much defend these rights, that would be over. Tyranny would never really come to that close. So that's all I'm saying. I want to give you the floor. Anything you want to say?
Well, in the spirit of that, I have always been armed when I protest. You know, they want to brainwash the public into thinking it's not okay and that it's some sort of taboo gesture. But I've always been armed when I protest, whether I was protesting the unconstitutional wars under Bush Jr. Or I was protesting the NDAA under Mr. Obama. I'm always armed. I've got a pistol on my hip. And there's one thing that's never happened to me before. I've never been pepper sprayed.
Exactly. So. It's true. And tell me about in Idaho. You know, I like the state. I've never been there, but, you know, I learn a little bit. I think that you've got pretty good gun laws, right? I mean, tell us a little bit about basic gun laws in Idaho.
Well, you know, we normally, we're, you know, what they call a red state. And we have, you know, decent laws compared to other states in the Republic. But having said that, we work closely with Idaho Second Amendment Alliance, which is an organization here. And he wrote a bill that he's been trying to get passed for about 3 years now, called House Bill 89, and it's constitutional carry. It says that we can carry a pistol if you're a law-abiding citizen and you own it legally, in whatever manner you see fit.
Like in Arizona we have, yes. That's a great law.
Without a permit, without another tax.
Yes.
And we were really surprised that we couldn't get that passed here in Idaho.
Wow.
We weren't reinventing the wheel. Other states, and we just were blown away that we got so much resistance from our legislature. And they held it in committee until the session was over. We got out and we organized and got people out on overpasses and tried to make sure everybody knew about what was going on. And it turned out that the NRA had introduced another bill contradicting ours. And we found that interesting as well.
Yeah.
And that's all I'll say, that it was interesting that we got no help from the NRA on our bill, and they introduced one that was contradicting.
I lost
their bill
with the NRA like 10 years ago. I was pretty much I already just paid part of my life membership, and I wasn't even American yet. I was I just became an American. It was like a month after my citizenship. Okay, 2005. And what happened? I realized the NRA wasn't exactly what it was supposed to be. I call it compromised, and I'm not surprised. That's why at this point it doesn't make any difference. Red state, blue state, they're all in bed together. I mean, look at that in Washington, you know. So I quit supporting the NRA immediately. I joined other organizations. You know, for example, in Arizona, I support the Arizona Citizen Defense League, was one of the most important organizations to push for this constitutional carry. And I hope the citizens and of Idaho, and I call you citizens for a reason, because I really believe in the idea that every state is supposed to be sovereign. And you're a citizen of the state of Idaho, like I'm a citizen of the state of Arizona. But the point is, I hope you can get it, because that's your right, you know. And it's so beautiful to think we can be, as law-abiding people with no felony. I'm talking people that not being criminally dangerous to others. We have that right that differentiates us from slaves. Because the point is, when the moment that you ask for a permit, that's no more a right, it's a privilege. I don't care how you slice it. And the fact that you have that right, you can have a gun, a rifle, whatever you want, and conceal it without any type of permit, for me, the most fulfilling thing as in my new American life. Something that anywhere else in the world I could do. And that would be so important. I believe in Idaho, people deserve that. I hope you're going to get it down soon. Listen, I have a song I want to dedicate to you before I let you go. It's called The Line in the Sand, and I want to send you some of my CDs, because I really, and also with a certificate, and I want to be in touch with you, please. We're also Facebook friends. And I said, this is a message not to us, but it's to them. I'm a regular guy, and, probably I'm going to be the most less dangerous person out there. I'm peaceful, and I don't know. I'm just a regular guy. But if a regular guy like me, that was even born here, and I have my fathers and grandfathers they didn't die for this country, I'm ready to die for any of you, my fellow Americans. I know that many other Americans, they're going to be even more irritated if something happens to any of you, Scott, Eric, or any other person out there who stood up for this republic and these rights that we have in our Constitution. That's all I want to say. It's a message. It's millions of us. The moment that you're going to put that lipo sparkle into us, it's over. That's all I want to say. It's a message of love and peace, and hopefully we can keep it like that. Thank you, Eric. I have this song. It's called The Line in the Sand, and I dedicate it to you and all my fellow brothers and sisters in freedom.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. You don't go away, guys, because we have hour number 3, more news and more love and more
If you love wealth better than liberty, the tranquility of servitude than the animated contest of freedom, go from us in peace. We ask not your counsels or arms. Crouch down and lick the hands which feed you. May your chains sit lightly upon you, and may posterity forget that you were our countrymen. The line in the sand, you know the time is coming. The line in the sand, are you going to watch while we're fighting? The line in the sand, just tell me now where you're going to stand. How much more you're gonna take it? How much more you're gonna fake it? Now you decide what you'll do when they come. They'll come for you. Seconds before midnight.
He's a songwriter, a poet, a rifleman,
I'm not afraid,
and a constitutional activist.
I'm not afraid,
Italian by birth,
I'm not afraid,
American by choice. Gianluca Zanna.
I'm not afraid.
And his new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom. 16 powerful songs on one CD from the heart of a patriot. For download or to order the CD, go to www.lovegunsfreedom.com. That's www.lovegunsfreedom.com. Lyrics for your mind, music for your heart. Gianluca Zanna's new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom.
Okay, guys, before we go to hour number 3, don't forget, you can support the show pretty much just going to zanna.us, my website where you can download any of my songs. And also if you go to lovegunsfreedom.com, there is a section for all different type of gifts, like the Confederate gifts. Yes, you heard right. It is not just about the South, it's about also the North, it's about American heritage. Okay, so go to lovegunsfreedom.com. There are incredible little things that I pretty much created for you. And remember, whenever you purchase something through my sites, you will pretty much support the show and you will keep it free. ConfederateGifts.us, lovegunsfreedom.com, zanna.us, or just download any of my songs for just 99 cents. I appreciate it. This will keep the show free. No matter where I am, internet, radio station, this is pretty much what keeps this going. Thank you very much. And now ready for hour number 3. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna.
You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna on United States.FM network.
Have you ever met someone on an online dating site and thought, wow, this guy is perfect for me, or she is simply amazing, only to find out they were hiding a deep, dark secret? They plan to vote for Hillary. FreedomLovers.us was created for singles who want to exchange ideas and a love for freedom. People who are looking for solutions to create and defend freedom in the real world, and at the same time, getting that once-in-a-lifetime chance to find their true soulmate. Whether you are interested in meeting your soulmate, making new friends, networking, or hanging out with that like-minded liberty lover, visit FreedomLovers.us. It's the first free dating site and community. So patriots, don't waste your time with other dating sites. FreedomLovers.us is the place where like-minded singles really click.
Okay, guys, this is Luca Zanna, final hour of Love, Guns, and Freedom on KTOX 1340 AM and on United States.FM network. You know, this is the hour pretty much I talk about everything, from love to recipes and more important news, okay? Something that they're not just news that normally you would find in the mainstream media, but something that normally we need to the help of every one of us, you know, because I believe every one of us can be a news reporter, just witnessing things that normally we cannot grab from the media. I have with me right now a good guy, a really good guy. He's an inspiration for me. He's a brother in freedom. His name is Matt Papke from the Phoenix area. And Matt, are you there, first of all?
Yeah, hey, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Matt. You know, I'm
doing pretty good.
Briefly, give us a little bit of your background. You know, you're not just a regular guy out there. You've been active in politics, in the freedom movement. Also, you're a veteran, correct? I mean, tell us a little bit about you.
Sure, no, that's true. I was in the United States Marine Corps, and got out with honorable discharge. But you say not normal. It is normal because we're all citizens, Luca, and we all have a responsibility and a duty to stand up for ourselves and one another. But I have been active in the political spectrum. I'm a elected officer in the Arizona Republican Party. I ran for city council in Tempe, Arizona, and we're just trying to restore the republic. Just like all of us should be. Exactly. And this is the point, guys. Everybody listening to the show, we don't need to wait for Captain America coming down from, a horse or something like that. We all got to do our job, So who's going to save us? Look at yourself in the mirror, and you're going to do your part. Now, specifically today, something that you brought to the attention on Facebook, and it's kind of disturbing because, little bit that I know about American history, more I learn about what happened to this country since the creation of the United Nations. I really feel so mad
about this cancer called the United Nations. Now, you told me that in the area of Phoenix, and correct me if I'm wrong, exactly, I have here in front of me the place. It is the Korean War Memorial, Wesley Boley Memorial Park in Phoenix, Arizona. Is that one, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Perfect. Tell us exactly what did you witness, because I don't want to say. You tell me. Tell us a little bit.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it should be the same. Anybody can go down there and see it for themselves. But, at Wesley Bolin Plaza, they've got a series of war memorials from World War II, Vietnam, and Desert Storm, Desert Shield. And then they've got a Korean War memorial as well. Mm-hmm. And, I think memorials are important. I would hope they remind us why we shouldn't be going to war, exactly. Rather than glorifying war. But, they've got these memorials. It's a nice plaza. Well, we were down there for an event, I think it was in support of the Second Amendment at the Capitol. Mm-hmm. And after the event, we just kind of walked around, checked out the memorials, and we noticed that the Korean War Memorial had the blue rag of the UN flying, and at the time it was actually higher than the American and Arizona flags that were flying at that same memorial.
Wow.
So somebody took it upon themselves to lower the UN flag so it was so it was below the U.S. flag, and I think that was the appropriate thing to do, and I'm glad they did it.
Mm-hmm. I have a couple of questions for you. You were born here, and probably you know a little bit more than me about what exactly is going on in the history of this country. I mean, you took an oath to defend the Constitution when you were a Marine, and of course also you believe in this republic. Now, according to what we know, and the Constitution doesn't need to have, you don't need to have a degree in science or in some sort of expensive law school, okay? We can read the Constitution even if we are like an immigrant like myself, okay? Who can declare war according to the Constitution? Congress, correct? Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, that's my understanding. The Congress has the power and the duty to declare war.
Okay, now, according to what I read in the American history the last 60 years, the last war that was constitutional, at least was accountable to Congress and to the people, was World War II. Now, the Korean War, as much as I feel sorry for the thousands of, there was a pretty much bloody war, or at least a conflict, because technically it's a conflict, okay? It was a bloody conflict, thousands of people, more than 36,000 Americans died in the conflict. So, when people say, that was a war, 36,000 people died. Yes, we want to call it where people bleed and die. Yes, it's a conflict. But the reality is we've been so brainwashed and we forgot that starting from the Korean War, and I wish I were wrong. I wish this didn't happen. Not because it's going to make a war better, because it's declared by Congress, but at least it's accountable to the people. Instead, this was the first conflict under the umbrella of the United Nations. Do you confirm this or not?
I think you're correct. Yeah. I think that's definitely the first U.S. conflict that we were involved in under the umbrella of the United Nations.
So it wasn't about defending our borders, defending our interests. It was about pretty much being puppets. And I'm sorry, guys. If you have fathers and family died there, I still feel sorry. But the reality is we must face the truth. Unfortunately, when you die for a country that is not your country anymore, and this is an organization, a sovereign international organization called the United Nations, no, you're not dying for America. Even, of course, I don't want you to die. Let the enemy die. But the point is, regardless, this is the reality. We've been used since then as police force of this global government. Now, what should we do? You think this flag is still there, first of all? What do you think?
I'm sure it's still there. I can't imagine it's been taken down at this point. And I don't, I'm not a fan of the UN. I am happy to burn the UN flag. But I don't, I'm not opposed to having that flag at that memorial, specifically because it was a UN action. I understand the context, but I don't think at any point on American soil it should fly higher than the U.S. flag at all.
Let's start with that. You're right. Let's start with that. That's number one. Number two, I don't say that we got to go there and start to burn everything. No, that's not what I advocate. I'm not for violence. But one thing, we should at least meditate a little bit and start to admit the reality. that when you see the United Nations flag fly there, we didn't go for our colors. We were under, anyway, a United Nations control. And I invite everybody to look at also what happened to Michael New. I had his father on the show a few months ago, okay? Now, all I want to say is this. When people say, we're going to war, let's start to use the right lingo. These are no more wars. These are conflicts. The last war we fought was World War II according to our Constitution. And more important, we are pretty much being used as puppets, police force of global government. It's hurting, it hurts, but I'm glad that when I was here, I came to America 17 years ago, and in 1999 I was ready to join the Army. And I was ready that at least I was able to understand this reality, because I would have been court-martial. I would never serve under the United Nations badge, umbrella, and flag. So we got to realize that. Listen, you are a former, you're a veteran, former soldier. If you had a son today, in all honesty, would you tell him, hey, son, the son say, hey, Dad, what do you think? Should I join the military? What would you tell him?
Oh, absolutely no. I mean, I've talked one of my brothers out of doing it. I've talked a few other people out of doing it. There's a few sayings. One is that you kind of alluded to. You don't die for your country. You have that other dumb son of his country. Mm-hmm. So, and if it's a war where there's an observable goal, and you're defending your property, you're defending your people, then you have to do what you have to do. I mean, that is the nature of war. But when it's so obvious that the conflicts, or you call it the wars that we're engaged in, where people die and suffer, not just in our military, but in the opposition's military and in the civilian population, it's so obvious that it's not for defense of our borders or defense of our people. It's for the expansionism of our ideology, which in many ways is a corporate ideology. It's fascism, corporate fascism in many ways, and it's not. That is not something at all that I think anyone should put 1 ounce of effort into supporting. I would love to just not pay taxes and reclaim all that money that's gone to kill people in the name of profit.
Unfortunately,
I'd love to.
And taxes, it doesn't even go there that much, because all we do when we pay taxes goes to pay the interest on the debt to the private Federal Reserve, but that's even another story. All I'm saying, guys, my purpose is not here to bash the military. No, I want to try to defend them and save them from going entrapped in a contract that is no more to defend this country. And, I didn't say that. I read a book that probably you're familiar, by General Butler, that was one of the most decorated U.S. Marine general. And I'm sure you read the book, War is a Racket, correct?
War is a Racket. You got it, yeah.
I mean, this is not just some hippie out there start to say, no, he was saying almost 100 years ago things that now they're more real than ever. And that was before even the United Nations, So the point is, in your opinion, what is the purpose of our military? I mean, Butler made it very simple. What about, according to you, what is the purpose?
Well, the founding founders of our nation were very clear in what the role of our military should be, and it was to repel invasion. I mean, very, very clear. And there were not to be standing armies, because they knew that when you had a standing army, you had adventurism, and you had oppression upon the people. So I don't think that the current role our U.S. military plays, and if you look at some of the Navy commercials, they call it a global force for good.
Yeah,
I don't think that is at all in line with what our framing documents had intended.
Exactly.
The role of the American military today, just like General Smedley Butler said, the only individual that I believe he received 2 congressional medals of honor. Mm-hmm. He thwarted a coup, against the Republic, led by corporates, corporate fascists. Yes. So, yeah, he did that. Yeah. So, to what he said, war being a racket, it is. We're defending our monetary interests, not for the people, but for the corporations. And corporations, I'm sorry, I don't care what the Supreme Court says, they're not people. No, they may have some of the current privileges we extend people and the rights, but they don't have the accountability.
Exactly. And also another thing, one thing I like, he kept it very simple. There was a big military guy. We're supposed to use our soldiers for two reasons. One is to defend our Bill of Rights, pretty much. Our rights that we say we're going to spread around the world. They call it democracy, I call it fascist, but that's another story. We're losing our rights here. So our soldiers are supposed to stay here to defend our rights, number one. And number two, to defend our borders. That's the only two reasons that pretty much, General Butler intended, according also to our founding fathers, the vision of our armed men and women. That's pretty much what the story. Listen, all I want to say, I want to thank you for your witnessing, and I would like to say, first of all, to the listeners, when you go to Phoenix, you go to see this memorial to the Korean War. Let's start to call it the right name. It was a Korean conflict, and I'm sorry that our fathers and grandfathers get trapped into that, but we must learn history, and we must learn our mistakes to pretty much stop doing it again. And I want to leave you just one thing. There's going to be now a little audio I'm going to play. This is Defense Secretary Panetta tells Senator Sessions the military gets its authority from the UN or NATO, not from Congress anymore. Did you ever heard about this, watch this little video clip?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's all I want to say. Let's bring this information out, and let's not play like, drones just following the orders. Hey, Matt, I want to thank you, and I give you 60 seconds. Whatever you want to say, you got the floor. Shut up.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity. I really do. What you're doing is important, and you just as one person have made tremendous impact in your county. And the actuality of the situation is any one of us can do that. We just have to take on that mantle and say enough is enough, and I'm not waiting for anyone to come save me. I'm going to save myself. Get involved in your local politics. You go to city council meetings, you're generally going to see 3 or 4 people there, and that's not how we're supposed to be set up. We are supposed to be a self-governing society. The people are the most important voice in any city hall or any chamber of government, and it's time to make that voice heard. Exactly, and also hear the sound of the next generation there. That's your little daughter. We got to really think that it's on us. It's happening under our watch. So we cannot be lazy. We cannot be afraid. One day, these kids, they're going to be men, the new American generation, they're going to say, hey, Dad, what did you do? One thing at least we're going to do. We tried everything. That's all I can say. Hey, Matt, thank you very much. Guys, don't go away. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Lucas Zanna. And let's listen to this bastard called Panetta that pretty much is selling us out to the United Nations and it's confirming it. Thank you. Thank you, Matt.
Are you saying, and is the President taking the position, he would not act if it was in our interest to do so if the UN Security Council did not agree?
When it comes to the kind of military action where we want to build a coalition and work with our international partners, then obviously we would like to have some kind of legal basis on which to do it, as we did in Libya.
Now, some sort of legal basis. We worried about international legal basis, but nobody worried about the fundamental constitutional legal basis that this Congress has over war. We were not asked, stunningly, in direct violation of the War Powers Act, whether or not you believe it's Constitution. It certainly didn't comply with it. We spent our time worrying about the UN, the Arab League, NATO, and too little time, in my opinion, worried about the elected representatives of the United States. Do you think that you can act without Congress and initiate a no-fly zone in Syria without congressional approval?
Again, our goal would be to seek international permission, and we would come to the Congress and inform you and determine how best to approach this, whether or not we would want to get permission from the Congress. I think those are issues we would have to discuss as we decide what to do here.
Well, I'm almost breathless about that, because what I heard you say is we're going to seek international approval, and then we'll come and tell the Congress what we might do, and we might seek congressional approval.
No, well,
I want to just say to you, that's a big dish. Wouldn't you agree? You've served in the Congress.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you agree that that's would be pretty breathtaking to the average American? So would you like to clarify that?
But I've also served with Republican presidents and Democratic presidents who has always reserved the right to defend this country if necessary.
But before we do this, you would seek permission of the international authorities.
If we're working with an international coalition and we're working with NATO, we would want to be able to get appropriate permissions in order to be able to do that. That's something that all of these countries would want to have some kind of legal basis on which to act.
What legal basis are you looking for? What entity?
Well, obviously, if NATO made the decision to go in, that would be one. If we developed an international coalition beyond NATO, then obviously some kind of UN security resolution would be the basis for that.
Coalition of. So you're saying NATO would give you a legal basis, and an ad hoc coalition of nations would provide a legal basis?
If we were able to put together a coalition and were able to move together, then obviously we would seek whatever legal basis we would need in order to make that justified. I mean, we can't just pull them all together in a combat operation without getting the legal basis on which to act.
Well, who are you asking for the legal basis from?
If it's obviously, if the UN passed a security resolution as it did in Libya, we would do that. If NATO came together as we did in Bosnia, we would rely on that. So, we have options here if we want to build the kind of international approach to dealing with the situation.
Well, I'm for all for having an international support, but I'm really baffled by the idea that somehow an international assembly provides a legal basis for the United States military to be deployed in combat. I don't believe it's close to being correct. They can provide no legal authority. The only legal authority that's required to deploy the United States military is the Congress and the President and the law and the Constitution.
He's a songwriter, a poet, a rifleman,
I'm not afraid,
and a constitutional activist.
I'm not afraid,
Italian by birth,
I'm not afraid,
American by choice. Gianluca Zanna.
I'm not afraid.
And his new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom. 16 powerful songs on one CD from the heart of a patriot. For download or to order the CD, go to www.lovegunsfreedom.com. That's www.lovegunsfreedom.com. Lyrics for your mind, music for your heart. Gianluca Zanna's new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom.
Here we go. We are back, and this is Luca Zanna. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom. This is the hour about love. We'll talk about news, what's going on, and also about love in general. As I said, there is a physical love, spiritual love, any type of love, brotherly love, sisterly love. I like that. Anyway, but the point is, I'm trying to learn. As I said, this show for me is also a great opportunity to learn. I always said I am far away to be perfect, and that's why I don't want even to think to judge others, because if I start to judge myself, probably, I realize that there is so much things that I need to improve. Last Sunday, I had a very incredible guest. I really enjoy his opinions and of course, his participation to the show. He's a pastor. As I said, I have several pastors on this show, and this show is not about religion. I also said it's a show about freedom of religion and freedom from religions. We can talk about anything we want. And I also said, my background is Christian. But maybe I'm not a good Christian. I'm sure I'm not a good Christian, because if I was a good Christian, I would be perfect, and I'm not perfect. This pastor said a very important word, a key word. Sometimes I seem distracted, but I listen to every word. The word is fornication. By the way, I thought I got it down wrong. I always said formication. And let me tell you something about this word. I have no idea, seriously. In 17 years in this country, I never really paid attention to this word. I thought there was something about masturbation or maybe even worse. I don't laugh, please. In Italy, there is a word called formica that means ant. Something to do with the ants and sex. I don't know. Call me stupid and crazy. But I realized, wow, fornication. So I started to investigate a little bit, and I said, wow, maybe I am the big fornicator. I was thinking about, seriously, I got it all wrong. But, this is my sin in life. I ask to God forgiveness, and I don't know what I'm going to do because, I'm not married, technically I am. I have 4 wives, but that's another story. But I'll talk now to the pastor. I want to really know his opinion, opinion as a pastor who knows the scriptures, and I'll try to see what I can do better. Now, of course, I have probably a phone call here directly from, I don't know who, but with no problem. Here we go. Pastor, are you there?
I am here.
Okay, so please, first of all, I want to thank you because it was a very important interview we had. I had a lot of great feedback. A lot of people wrote me and said, great show, interesting piece, difference of information. Did you have any feedback from the show? Did you enjoy our talk last Sunday?
I did, Luca, and I've had great feedback, actually, from people on Facebook who I have heard from, who followed you, and also followed the links that I gave them. Mm-hmm. They really thought that you and I interacted very well in our conversation. And the thing that I really appreciated was they said we seemed to have a mutual respect for freedom and for each other. And they were right. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, perfect. And this is the purpose of the show. Pastor, first of all, I'm not here to be right. I'm here to be challenged to be wrong. I always hope I'm wrong. I really do. Because if somebody can bring me logics and facts to say, look, you know what, you got it down wrong, I'm the first one to say thank you very much. And I would like to improve, That's for me a way to learn. That's why this show is so important, not just for the public, I hope, but also for myself, So now, we were talking about this topic that it's called fornication. And as I said, I've been, after realizing, tell us a little bit what means fornication. Before, I don't want to just people guess like I was guessing the rest of my life. What exactly means to fornicate?
Fornication actually is the definition the Bible gives for sexual intercourse between men and women before they're married. In other words, it is God's intent for us to have sexual intercourse in a marriage. He does intend for that. Mm-hmm. But I want to say this. I do want to define something here, Luca. There is none of the sins that we have talked about that God does not forgive. Mm-hmm. We need to remember that we have a loving God, a compassionate God, a God who understands. But at the same time, He's holy. And because He's holy, He desires for us not to have sins that really take away His plan from our life. And fornication is one of those sins. Mm. And let me say this. When you're growing as an adult and you start pursuing relationships, it's not easy. It's not easy for any of us to be in a relationship with somebody and not desire them. Actually, desiring them is a natural reaction that we should have. So we should not feel guilty about the way we feel about wanting to be with them. It's just that we need to be very careful and take those feelings and submit those to God and say, God, I want it to be a proper relationship in your eyes, and therefore, if it's right in your eyes, then I'm honoring the person I'm with.
Okay.
And so that's why He says it that way.
You said a very important keyword, honoring the person. And let me tell you something honestly. People can laugh at me, whatever. I'm not here to be judged. Only God can judge me. But every woman I've been spent time with, I don't care if it's an hour of a week or maybe a year, doesn't matter. I always been honoring the woman, respecting her, and loving her, because I really believe love is not quantity, it's about quality, Sometimes you can love somebody for an hour, and it sometimes could be they love more intense that hour than maybe a lifetime, pretty much based on lies or disrespect. So I don't want to try to get extra credit and an excuse, but on my side, at least I would like to say in front of God, say, you know what? Yes, I probably didn't follow. I want to be honest. I've been married just one time in my life, and then of course I divorced. Unfortunately, I'm not proud of it, but that was the right thing to do, I believe. But regardless, I was always, faithful during my divorce. But when I wasn't divorced, when I wasn't married, I was always in love, and doesn't mean that people say, oh, you are not in love, it's just sex. No, I don't care. I could have thousands of women, and maybe I had just hundreds of women. But the point, every time I had a woman, I was in love. And people say, how can you say that? First of all, you don't know me. Maybe I fall in love pretty easy. Maybe I have this sort of, I don't know, whatever it is. But the point is, I understand. Respect is very important. I don't want to go out with a woman just because. Yeah. It's a feeling, it's an emotion, and also, of course, there is physical dimension. We are pretty much right now. And I believe God gave us these bodies to respect each other, to love each other, to make also each other happy. So, I don't know. I think I'm still a sinner, though, right?
Well, let me say it this way, and when I talk about what the Bible teaches, I would never want you or anyone else to take it that I'm trying, because I'm not judging anybody. Matter of fact, I think you get it right when we should not judge. And I do not do that. I don't go around judging people. And matter of fact, let me say this, Luca. I don't think the worst of somebody because they're involved in something that I may personally not condone. I don't think the less of people. My responsibility, I feel like, is to teach what the Bible says and go by what it says. And so when dealing with this subject, what I really would say to anybody is, listen.
Let's see exactly what the Scripture says, Pastor, because, at this point, let the Scripture talk, and everybody can listen and decide and do their own researches. For example, do you have any type of, in front of you, like some part of the Bible? I have in front of me a link about King James Bible, pretty much that I've been studying after what you say, that magic word, fornication. I said, let me check it out here. And I see that a lot of parts, they're pretty much very specific. For example, Corinthians 6:18-20. Then there is Hebrews 13:4. Give us some example exactly what the Bible says about fornication.
Yeah, actually, I had shared some scripture with you last week, if you'll remember, about that. The Bible teaches in 1 Corinthians that fornicators will not inherit the kingdom of God. And what that means, Luca, is that if you don't change that course in your life and you don't submit that area of your life to God, the measuring stick is, do you believe that you can be saved and commit sins all the time and not ever repent of those things? And I want to say this.
Yes.
There are people today who believe that there's no need for repentance at all. I will tell you this. I'm interviewing a pastor right now for a documentary I'm looking at doing, and he actually believes everybody is saved right now.
Wow.
That, he believes everybody is saved. That they're in a saved condition, and they can be a pedophile, they can be a homosexual or anything, and that they're just saved. They don't have to repent. Actually, when you think about what he's saying that really overall, we don't need laws or anything else to guide us. Everybody's in a saved condition.
Which church is that? Was it Church of Lucifer? What exactly is the denomination of this pastor? I'm just curious.
Well, he actually is a Lutheran pastor.
Oh, Lutheran.
And,
all right, interesting.
Yeah, he's a Lutheran pastor, but he's more of the liberal Lutheran area. And, Luca, one of the things I do appreciate about you, and I want to tell you this. I was talking to my wife the other day about you, and I said, the one thing I appreciate about Luca is I think he's on a journey for truth. And, Luca, I think that's what you're on. I think you're on a journey for truth. And I think you ought to keep pursuing that. Brother, I would encourage you to continue doing what you're doing, because I believe that places you in the best place for God to use your life.
I believe thank you, I appreciate it. I think it's pretty much should be a human condition to try to look for truth. Honestly, be open to challenge yourself every time, because, if I were perfect, I wouldn't be a human. That's why I'm here. And I try to treasure everybody's input and, critics and positive critics, if it's possible, to try to get better. Now, back to this topic, fornication. I am not a married person, okay? Technically, I'm not married under the state or the government, okay? I am legally divorced. Right. So let's say in front of the state, I'm a bachelor, I guess, a single. I don't know how you want to call me. So let's say the rest of my life, the rest of this physical life I've been given, let's say if I fall in love with another woman who is not married, so I'm not infringing on somebody else's right, like the husband, okay? We are both divorced or singles, but we love each other, okay? We really do. We feel so in love that, you know what? And I also told you my position about the government license. You know, the moment that is a license, it's a privilege, and I believe that government should stay out of the business of marriage, because it's something that is supposed to be between me, a contract between me and the other person in front of God. Now, put this condition. If I find a woman, or maybe two women, that's another story, but I don't want to go into polygamy right now. That's another situation we already went through last week. If I find a lady that I get along and we respect each other, we love each other, and also we want to have a physical relationship, and right now, though, I don't have the piece of paper from the government that tells me, okay, now you're legally married. Am I in sin? According to the scriptures.
Well, here's the way I want to answer that.
Yes.
Number one, I want you to know I agree with you that the government should be out of the marriage business. I agree with you. I believe that it is between the adults, God, and if they are involved with their local church, then that local body of believers, because there's a great accountability there that we encourage each other in these relationships.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the government goes, no, I don't think the government has anything to say about this area to me, and they should not.
So
but,
I could get married.
I
mean, can I get together with this lady without being in sin? How can I do that?
Yeah, well, not in that manner. Let me say this according to what the Bible teaches.
Yes,
Luca.
Please, go ahead.
And let me say this. I want to encourage you about what the Bible says here.
Okay.
And I'm not trying to judge you, but you're asking me for biblical
Of
answers.
course.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And I take it you're going to take it that way. So here's what the Bible says. Luca, I believe what God desires for you or anybody else is for us to even take our sexual lives and make them holy in the eyes of God.
Okay.
Because when God created Adam and Eve, He married them. God married Adam and Eve. He did that. That was His act in humanity. And so He believes that we all should stand before Him and have an accountability. Now, again, I want to say this, Luca. It doesn't mean that all my past things that I did, God forgave me for them, Luca. Just so you know, I made mistakes before I was married, before I became a Christian. And God forgave me. You understand, I had relationships I should not have had, and I learned from that.
Okay. Now, I understand that. So my point is, and I was trying to point on the words that you said, to have this relationship with respect, not abusing the other person. It means if there is love. Correct. The only thing was, of course, officially you need to be married according to, but the point is, should we just define marriage because it's the state? Or maybe I can go in front of God and say, I want to marry this woman. And of course, if there is a church, or doesn't matter, but I marry you in the spirit. I marry in front of God.
Yeah.
I would be still a sinner, or I would be at least to comply with the law of God that now I am officially married in the name of God, so I can have sex with this woman.
Well, you've asked a very good question here, Luca, and I love the way you phrased it. You said if you went before God with Him. I got to say this, and I remind people this all the time. Before the government ever got involved in marriages, people got married the way you're talking about. They went before God and consecrated themselves basically before the Lord as a married couple. And also they did use pastors and stuff to implement that relationship. But I do believe that people, if they go before the Lord and make a commitment, God ordains that marriage. God does. And so I don't believe you need the government involved at all in this. You don't need a piece of paper. I agree with you. I don't think it's a piece of paper that makes you married. I believe it is your life with that person that you're willing to commit to them. And God looks favorably on that commitment. So I hope that answers that for you.
Yes, perfect. And I really believe it's important because, at least I know a parameter. Because I tell you, in my own past experience, I've been married only once. And I have no regrets. Everything was okay, but there was a divorce legally. And I realized one thing, I believe that the marriage, the way it's set up right now, with God, with the government acting as God, to give me this privilege. It's not moral right. I would never do that anymore in my life. I don't want to submit to a government authority to have something that's supposed to be my natural right to spend the rest of my life or whatever life I have with that special person. Okay, so at least we got that down. Now I understand, so I need to do a little more research, and I appreciate your input, and I have different scriptures here that I'm studying, so at least I want to be sure that I get the, because at the end of the day, as I said the other show, I really believe that we're here with free choice, and this is we are not here that nothing is predetermined. We've been given the opportunity to choose, and that's what about in my journey really where I am. I can choose good or I can choose evil. That's part of be free, and then of course there is also consequences. That's why I believe our path, our journey in this life is about. So I will do that, and same time I need to repent. I must tell you, in my life I fornicated a lot, but it's always with a condition though, that I always love my women. I tell you, I don't want to show off, but every time I had a relationship, I was probably a drama queen in the sense that I'm always a very romantic person. I really wanted to, even if it was just for a night, it was a love. It wasn't just sex. But people can laugh at me. That's fine. Yeah. I don't care. This is me. Anyway, so good. Now, something even more important. I take my responsibility as a sinner for fornicating, but I think if there is justice, I know there is justice, maybe not on this life, but there is justice in the other life, must be a special place in hell for people like Planned Parenthood. Do you agree with me or not?
Yeah. I do. I got to tell you, brother.
This is so bad, I may be a sinner. I go around with more than one woman, but damn it, these bastards, they are killing people. They are killing humans before they are born. They can defend themselves. And the worst part, if there is a worst part, they're also getting funded by our tax dollar. This is for me something I go crazy. What do you think about all this situation, all these videos that they came out the last few days about Planned Parenthood pretty much, discussing fees on specimens, they call them. I call them dead bodies of killed little babies. What do you think about this position? What can we do to stop this?
Well, number one, Luke, I think the best way to stop it is by defunding it. I do not believe tax dollars should go to paying, to killing little kids. And let me say this. There's a terminology they use a lot that I despise. They call it a fetus. And just so you know my background, Luca, I have interviewed girls who have went through abortions, and they have told us the horror of what it's like after they've gone through it. And there's actually a pastor in Florida who married a woman. Her life changed, and she had some abortions, and she spoke to a group of kids that I had, and she shared with us how they were pushed into this, how that's how they get their tax dollars, by the way. The more abortions they have, the more money they get. And so the more babies they get to kill, the more tax dollars they get every year. We need to take away the funding, and here's why. If you or I wanted to have an operation today, and by the way, an abortion is an operation. Yeah. If you and I wanted to have an operation, tax dollars are not going to pay for it. I don't see why we're funding anybody's operation that they choose to have. This is not something they have to do.
Exactly.
They are choosing to have an operation, and for tax dollars to fund that is irresponsible. Irresponsible at best, and at worst is exactly what you said. It is a hell-bent evil thing.
I agree. And, if there is I'm sure there are listeners out there that they believe that they have their right. Let me do this. Let me keep it simple, okay? First of all, I don't agree with you because I really believe that just because a little human being cannot defend himself or herself doesn't mean that it's not alive, but that's another story. Let's start with the fact that you shall not steal. You shall not force my tax dollar in a procedure that I believe is against my morals and my beliefs, okay? And this is not talking about Mr. Saint. I'm a big sinner, but let me tell you something. I never killed anybody. I never murdered anybody, okay? And I despise the fact that I am forced through the coercion of the government to pretty much use a part of my tax dollar to fund any type of other operation. I don't care which operation, is the sex operation, nose operation, ears operation, but more important, even worse now, we're talking about something that is really against my beliefs. To murder a little baby, I cry when I think about that. I cry seriously. I watch that a couple of videos of this. By the way, I start to really believe, Pastor, that the devil is start to take shape in different humans, or at least like Jesus said, the evil spirits get into the pigs. These are not pigs; they're worse than pigs. These are humans looking like pigs with devils inside. When you see this director of the Planned Parenthood smiling and drinking wine, sipping wine, and having a steak while they are negotiating about the price of specimen, they call them. These pure little bodies, and talking about Lamborghini. I don't even want to replay it. Probably enough radio shows play about that. I was crying, seriously. I was crying and saying, this can't be possible. Not even in China they put that like this. They're doing this, by the way, in China. That. So I believe we got to stop. I don't want to pay any more tax dollars for this, I'm telling you, I refuse to take Obamacare. I refuse to take anything. I refuse to pay even for my health insurance. That pretty much I found out the funds part of this. That. That's just so sad. What do you think? What should we do now? Meanwhile, because meanwhile we all funding these bastards.
Well, Luke, let me say this. I agree with you. I want you to know I agree totally with you on this. You're right. What kills me is you're broken about it. I weep about it. I weep about the fact that how many millions of children have been killed at the hands of our tax dollars. And I agree with you on this, Luca. You have hit the nail on the head with this. America needs to listen to what you have just said. But the problem is we have evil people, Luca, who do not care about the pain and agony they are bringing to these unborn children. And by the way, an abortion is a incredible act of hate and agony on the child itself. And people are going to burn in hell for that. They are.
Listen, all I want to say, to everybody, before you just talk about abortion, witness one, just go online and try to put yourself in front of a YouTube video and see exactly what's going on. And if you still have the courage and after you watch exactly what's happening and you still think that this is okay, you know what, at this point, I'm not going to judge you. It's not up to me. I just hope you don't have to use my tax dollar. That's number one thing. I don't want to be part of it. And also I said, but at least have the courage to see what's going on exactly. This is not just something. That's right. You close your eyes, you go to sleep, you wake up, okay, I'm lighter now. I 5 pounds less on my back. No, it's a human being. It's a little person that could be a human, a man, a woman. And by the way, this is part now, I really believe this is so sad, why the system is so desperate to have 20, 30 millions of illegal aliens into our country, because pretty much we don't have anymore the next generation ready to provide, to comply, and to provide for that fraud called Social Security. It's like a Ponzi scheme. Now they need the numbers, okay? And we've been killing at least 40 or 50 millions of Americans who are supposed to be here with us and produce and create and be here and trying to thrive in this nation together. And instead, they're gone. That's why they need now the new generation of slaves, because they need this. But that's another story. Pastor, I want to thank you very much.
Luca?
Go ahead, please.
Luca, can I say one thing?
Of course, go ahead.
Just real quick. Just real quick. In all these abortions that they have done, how do they not know that they aborted the one baby? They had the cure for cancer, the cure for AIDS, the cure for so many diseases. How did they not know that they killed the very baby God intended to help bring healing to humanity?
I agree. No, I completely agree. Pastor, I want to thank you again for your help, to your input. And I want to say, everybody out there, guys, I don't care what you believe. It's your choice. I'm not here to preach you, but I tell you, let's think for a moment. This is a battle, I really believe. What we are facing now in politics, it is not about politics. It's not about Obama or Bush or whatever party you choose. It's about good against evil. And all this battle, this struggle against two forces, it's happening in this materialistic, in this physical dimension. And the fact that, we have to choose where you stand. And sometimes even the fact you say, you know what, I'm going to be okay. I'm not going to take part of it. No. The moment that we are silent, we are pretty much consenting. That's why I believe this is not just about being here as a spectators. That's why also give me the opportunity to be on this show and the motivation to be on this show. Even if just, my little voice here, I will always say, I think it's time all of us, we should speak up. One way or another one. If you think just because people are silent, guess what? Your silent is consent. And I really believe, I'm not going to be here to tell you what's going to happen, but I tell you, I believe one day we're going to be judged. Even if in this war against evil, on this dimension, we may lose the battle for a moment. At the end, there is a superior being. It's going to be also an eternity in front of us. And that time is going to be the time we're going to be judged. So that's all I'm saying. Don't you think this is pretty much now the battle of good against evil, even if it's happening in this political dimension?
I do. I think that, Luca, again, you have hit something here that we are going to be battling for years to come. But I think we have to stand together.
Yes.
And I think that this is one of the ways we're able to do that. And I was telling my wife the other day, Luca, brother, I'm going to tell you this. I love you to death. I'm going to love you till the day I die.
Thank you.
Because I think what you're trying to do here serves a good purpose for humanity and especially for our nation.
Thank you, Pastor.
And I would encourage anybody to pursue relationships with people and find our strengths together. Even though you and I may have differences, Luca, I consider you a friend. And I'm thankful for this friendship that God is building in our lives.
Thank you, Pastor. I feel the same for you, and I appreciate you. Now, guys, please don't go away. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Lucas Zanna. The last part of the show, I'm going to share with you a little recipe, and I'm trying to stop for a moment thinking about fornication, and I'm going to put on hold all my activities because I need to find the right answer. I want to be sure I want to do it right, and I want to improve and trying to do better. Meanwhile, Pastor, can we drink wine just for fun and joy in the Scripture? Are we okay with that?
You know what? Yeah, you know what?
The
Bible says a little wine can do you well. Just here it is, look. Don't abuse anything.
No, I don't
abuse
anything.
The best way I can.
Oh, Pastor, I want to say something, by the way, to my listener. Let me tell you, because everybody say, look, you're always talking about wine. You must be a drunk. Guess what? I never get drunk. I drink normally with food, and I'm always in control of my emotions, and I always, just to let you know, in all my life, 17 years in this country, I never had even close to have even a DUI or a speeding ticket. So let me tell you what type of person I am. Doesn't mean that I'm not perfect, but I'll tell you, the point is I believe in always with freedom comes responsibility. You know that, Pastor, about me.
That's correct.
So,
that's correct.
And by
the way, Luke, when
yes.
I said that, I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to America.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to tell America, just don't abuse anything.
Close your eyes, now's the time to start again, you and me. Don't be afraid, just let it go. Can you feel my love? I'm your man. Hope and illusions fade away, but our love will remain in this life and the other. A bright new day's in front of us. Don't be afraid of our past, because this time we have each other. We have each other. Close your eyes, just hold my hand. It's a bright new day, it's not the end. I feel he's there in the dark. He waits for us and our love. Hope and illusions fade away, but our love will remain in this life and the other. A bright new day's in front of us. Don't be afraid of our past, because this time we have each other. Just hold my hand. It's a bright new day. It's not the end.
Okay, guys, and that was A Brand New Day, music and lyrics by myself, Luca Zanna, a romantic song. I think really fits the hour here about love. And, you know, as I said, this is kind of a different show, kind of a strange format. Sometimes people say, wow, you know, why did you choose this format? I really didn't choose this format. This is pretty much who I am, or what I am. And also, you know, I really like the idea because there are some, I don't want to preach to the choirs, you know, I don't want to go to, let's say, you know, I really love guns, okay? But my show, the idea wasn't about to just reach out to people that already know about guns, you know. I want to show that, try to reach out people that normally, they're afraid of guns, or they don't understand guns, and they think that every gun owner pretty much is some sort of a freak, okay? We are human beings, we are made of different, you know, emotions and different backgrounds, different social level, different education, but we are human beings. And most of us, gun owners, we also are, I really believe we are polite people, you know. Of course, there are jerks everywhere. There are crazy people everywhere, with or without guns. And for me, honestly, the idea would be to show also another part of our humanity that normally sometimes, you know, stereotyped, you know, you think you are somebody that, you know, you own guns, you must be some sort of a right wing. I don't believe in any wings. I don't care about left or right. It's about freedom. And I was thinking, you know, sometimes, maybe one day, I don't know, 50 years from now, 100 years from now, who knows, you know, when probably I'll be gone. And somebody find these recordings, these tapes. I really pray that I was wrong on everything. I do. I pray that everything I'm saying in this show, people laugh at me. I really do. I hope to be wrong. Seriously. I have no desire to come here and tell you that how messed up we are, how close to complete global tyranny we are, about all the different things and the legislation and the different attempts that we pretty much they're doing towards humanity. This is not just about America. All over the world, this is a mass-scale attack on humanity. And I tell you, next show I will talk about exactly, I would like to expose the conspiracy that is not a conspiracy, but it's based on facts. That humanity is under attack, and they want us dead. They want us killed. They want to pretty much reduce the population. And people can say, oh my gosh, here we go again. Listen, I just pray I'm wrong. I bring you the facts, the evidence, you do your researches, and guess what? And then I hope you can do your researches too. But unfortunately, I spent years verifying all this information. Unfortunately, I really believe we are very close. And they will try in every aspect. Meanwhile, if you want to support the show, keep it free. And I invite you also to be on the show. If you want to be and talk to me and pretty much even just disagree, I want you on the show. Just send me an email, zanna@zanna.us. Just be polite. That means, you know, we've got to use language FCC compliance. And I want you on the show, especially if you disagree, okay? And what else can I say? You know, don't forget, if you want to support the show, there are many ways. One of the ways, you go to lovegunsfreedom.com. There is a music section. You can download any of my songs. Also, you can go to confederategifts.us. You will see the link always on lovegunsfreedom.com. Or go to also, there is the bottom at the bottom of the page, there is zannaart.com. Even just with 99 cents, you can download any of my songs, or you can get postcards. Now, next week, I have a lot of different items. I have incredible little hats, baseball caps, and different things you can purchase, and you can keep this show free. Thank you very much, my friend. God's willing, I'll talk to you next Sunday. You've been listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna. Ciao. Mwah.